3, 2, 1. Hey guys, how's it going? Back here again. Another podcast. This one's going to be a little bit closer to the core of what these podcasts are going to be about. Just kind of getting to know people that are close to me, or some famous people that have been successful in life, but have also gone through trials and tribulations, and kind of how they got through that, what kind of pushed them through that, and how they are doing now compared to where they were at in that situation, and how kind of just everything gets better, and just kind of try to prove that we're not alone, and we all go through stuff, and that we can get through that. Today, my guest is Dax McMillin, and it's a guy that I train with pretty regularly. He also helps me teach my kids class along with Jay Polson. So, and eventually he's probably gonna be teaching his own kids class here at Imperial. So that's exciting to see that's gonna happen for him and where his journey's going. So, very touchy subjects for this podcast as well for him, and so I'm very thankful for you being here and kind of going through some of this stuff with me. So thank you for being here. So first of all, we'll kind of just get into like where you grew up, where you were born, and kind of how that went for you.
So grew up in a real small town down in Iowa. Actually, it's just 2 hours south of 163.
Okay.
Right next to Waterloo, Iowa.
Okay, yep.
The town, it's funny, the name of the town is Dunkerton.
Dunkerton.
Okay. So when you grow up there, I never really thought it was that kind of
odd name. Yeah.
Because you don't realize it when you're like, that's just where you live. So
Yep.
I think when I later on, when I left home and graduated high school and went in the military and then came up here, people ask where you're from, and I say Dunkerton, and then you're kind of like, oh, that is Dunkerton, Iowa. Does sound a little funny, but yeah, Dunkerton, real small town. I think less than 1,000 people.
Still to this day.
Still to this day,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
A lot. It's the same town and school that both of my parents grew up in.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of a family town where everybody kind of grew up.
For sure. I think there was 32 people in my graduating class.
Oh wow.
And I think I was related to 4 of them.
Oh wow.
Cousins, second cousins, third. So yeah, real small.
Makes dating a little hard, huh?
Yeah. And I remember Jay and Travis. I think they were both from kind of smaller towns too.
Yep,
I think I might have them beat maybe.
Yeah, definitely be. Yeah, I was from Lake City, so it's a little bit of a smaller town, but
right.
Not that small. I think we have about 6,000 people, so that's a little different.
That's huge compared to Dunkerton.
So did you do any sports or anything in like school or high school or anything like that?
Yep. Being small town, you pretty much had to go out.
Right.
Otherwise, you didn't have a team, right?
Okay.
The whole high school, like I said, 32 people in my class. I think our entire high school was probably less than 120 then, freshman through senior year. And I think there was like 12 or 13 boys in my class, and I think 10 or 11 of us were out for like football.
Football, you all played the same sports.
Yeah, all the way through. I know if you were to take a picture of us or look at our first grade picture compared to like our senior group picture, 70 to 80% it's the same kids, right?
That's crazy.
So yeah, I played football 7th grade through my senior year, baseball for like 4 of those years. I ran track. I usually lifted weights during like basketball season. I was never much of a basketball player, and I love going to the game. I love watching basketball, but it wasn't something I was.
You enjoyed playing?
Yeah, I grew up on a farm, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, across from a farm. My dad ran a farm up till I was probably a freshman or sophomore. Then he had to sell everything, so I kind of grew up.
Okay.
We had chores to do, and I have an older brother and a younger brother and a younger sister, and I'm sure my older brother, if he watches this, he'll laugh because I was probably the one that got away with the least amount of work.
Okay.
We'd go do chores, and my older brother would probably do most of it, and I'd
kind of
goof around, smart off, and whatever. But yeah, so basketball was tough to do because all my friends that lived in town, they could go down to the park and play basketball.
Yeah.
Where I could shoot jump shots, and for whatever reason I just wasn't that interested in basketball. Like I said, football all 6 years, 7th grade through my senior year, and really enjoyed that. Team sport, track, and I was kind of thinking about how to best describe. I was never the fastest, quickest, strongest, or most athletic.
Definitely.
And I was thinking, when you play a video game, you select your character.
Yep.
And you can kind of pick the person that's like 5s and everything. 1 through 10, it's like they're decent and everything. That was kind of like what I was. I
You're
think
the middle. Of
yeah,
everything.
and I think I tried to make up for that by just being, paying attention and going to the whistle and
Right, yeah.
being a good teammate. So I knew I wasn't physically dominant or at that level. So I just made up for it with hustle and
You worked a little harder.
right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think up till probably my freshman year, I was kind of small.
Smaller kid.
Yeah, like if you look at our class pictures through elementary, I was always like in the front because I was a smaller guy.
Okay, yeah.
And I was really young for my class too. If I had been born just a few weeks later, I would have been in the grade below me.
Oh, okay, yep. That's
So-
how I was as well.
Yeah, so and plus I was kind of a late bloomer anyway. I didn't start to get bigger and actually gain muscle till probably freshman or sophomore year.
Okay.
So and I think that helped me because all through elementary you're kind of the smaller kid and maybe not as big and strong and fast that you kind of have to make up for it by
Right. That hustle.
working harder and hustling and whatever. So
Yeah,
then
definitely.
when my body finally, I started to get stronger and bigger and faster, it helped because I kind of had that original, it was kind of built into me to hustle.
Yep. And so once you kind of grew into your body, you already had that mentality of
Yeah.
I got to hustle. So it
Yep.
kind of helped with your body. Like, oh,
Yep.
now I'm bigger, stronger, and I can push even harder than a lot
Right.
of these guys are willing to. Luckily for you, you got that. I never got that. I'm still just about the same size I was in high school. So, but yeah, I definitely was. I know what you mean by being that smaller guy and kind of being like, God, these guys are so much bigger, so I got to work a little harder, make them a little tired. And
Yep.
that definitely transitions now into jiu-jitsu because, like you said, I don't feel like I'm the best athlete, the best wrestler, any of that. But I'm very good at mixing everything, and I'm very good at pushing and grinding people
Yep.
and feeling when they're tired and kind of, So I'm used to that kind of hustle. That kind of grew over into jiu-jitsu as gym. That helps you as well too.
Mhm.
So you played football. Basically, that was kind of like your favorite sport. Then kind of in
Yeah,
high school, it seems
I would
like
say
that was
so.
what you played the most.
Football, I like baseball a lot.
Baseball as well.
I pitched and played outfield.
Oh wow, you're a pitcher even. Okay.
Yeah, and again, I wasn't.
No.
I could throw strikes, and they were somewhat. I mean, I didn't have a ton of heat, but I had, for small town Iowa baseball, it was good enough. I hit decently well.
And that's still kind of cool as a kid to be like, I'm the pitcher. You're like, what? You
Yeah,
pitch?
I mean,
I'm the pitcher, bro. Like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I-
everybody kind of looks at that pitcher like, wow, that's the guy that kind of runs the whole, everything. out
Well,
there.
yeah.
At least I never played baseball, so that's why I always looked at it as like, oh, that
Yeah,
guy
I mean,
there.
definitely the pitch. I mean, we had multiple pitchers, so I probably pitched, one out of every 4 or 5
Transition.
games. But
Okay.
outfield's where I was most of the time. But
It seems like an outfield, when I talk to a lot of people that play baseball or they play like beer league softball, it seems like outfield's a lot more fun. You get a lot more action.
yeah, I liked it. I mean, infield, you get balls hit at you real fast.
Yeah, you
especially
gotta catch, you gotta have that good hand-eye
Right,
coordination.
right.
Something
And,
I'm not good
I
at.
had decent speed, so I could run down balls in the outfield, and then I, throwing them had a decent arm again for small town Iowa,
Right,
so
yeah.
throwing balls in. But track was good too. Again, small town Iowa track.
What did
team.
you do in track? Did you kind of do a little bit of everything because there was such a
Yeah.
small group?
Yep. I threw shot my senior year. I threw shot put, and ran 4x1 and 4x2.
Oh wow, okay. So,
So yeah, it's like, which you don't really see too often. You see someone that like throws a shot, plus they're on like the 4x1, 4x2 team. I think I ran like a 800 at one point
Oh,
senior
wow.
year, like a solo 800.
just getting out there and trying everything.
Yep. And again, I think sports, especially in high school, and it doesn't really have to be sports. I think just having something physically that you have to like fight through, and maybe you've got teammates that rely on you,
Right.
is good for everybody. It doesn't have to be a sport. It could be running a 5K or 20 or a marathon, but to be able to like physically have to overcome something, whatever that might be, a race or somebody in jiu-jitsu on top of you that's grinding you down. I think it builds character, and it's something everybody should
I
at least
agree.
experience.
And
in their
I
life.
always said that I think that wrestling and football and stuff like that are very good. The reason why I kind of leaned away from football is just because of the CTE that I'm worried about, and that I'm worried about
Yeah.
getting now as fighting for so long and stuff. So
I've got
I'm always like worried about my kids if I do have kids playing, but
Right.
definitely wrestling, something basketball, something where they're baseball where they're in that sport like you said, but people rely on them and they need to have that grind of being like,
Yep.
if I fail, everybody else kind of fails too. So you
Right.
got to kind of, and I think that works into life in general, like jobs and all that kind of stuff. It kind of all leads into that, being
Yep.
a good worker and being
For sure.
being a good team player around everything, not just on the field, but also like at your job, making sure you're trying to get everything done right.
I got a good story about. I'm positive I got a concussion, but I'm going to what you just said. you know, like I mentioned, 10 or 11 of the guys in my class all went out for football. So that was, and we'd been together like our whole childhood. So,
that's,
you know, playing games and stuff, it was really cool because at the time you don't really realize it. It's not until later that you kind of look back and, you know, think of, you know, relying on each other and trusting each other and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm positive I had a concussion. This would have been like 1987 or 88. I was a freshman. And it wasn't even during a game, it was at practice. So they had the varsity offense against the JV defense, right? Because the JV defense would match up to like what the next week's team was playing, and you know, we'd run plays against it. And I was either playing defensive end or outside linebacker at the time. And you know, we're running plays, and I remember somehow I got around my guy, you know, a senior, and I was a freshman. I was probably 145, you know, just a little dope. And somehow I got around my guy, and I was running full speed. And I remember the quarterback, who was a senior at the time. I don't know, he was a junior. He was right-handed, and I was coming around the right side, so his back was, you know, to me.
Yeah.
And I remember, as I was rapidly approaching him, I was like, for like 3 seconds, I'm gonna be like, this is gonna be great. The coach is gonna see me get this sack, and you know, everyone's gonna be like, wow, and it's gonna be, you know, they're gonna talk about how great how great Dax was. And what I didn't see was the tailback had stayed in the block.
Oh.
And he was a beast. He was a senior. I don't think he played college anywhere, but I know his younger brother did. His younger brother was actually in my class, and he was an absolute beast. And I don't know how I didn't know he was there. I didn't even think about it. I was too fixed on, wow, this is going to be great. And he came out of nowhere and hit me so hard. I'm pretty sure I did a flip in the air. Oof. I mean, and I remember landing and everything just going black. And then all of a sudden it kind of like someone shut the lights off and then turned it back on again. And I saw stars. And I just laid there. Like for a while I was like, where am I and what was that?
Right, yeah.
And then everything kind of came to. I got it. I stood up. The coach is like, McMillin, go take a seat on the side. And I slowly walk over. I take my helmet off.
Uh-huh.
I sit down, and I remember I started getting nauseous and sick.
Yep. That's definitely concussion right away, especially if it starts happening right away. Yeah,
well, and again, this was back in the late 80s when it was like,
any of that.
Right. And I'm pretty sure 5 minutes later, I went back out there. They're like, and then that night I remember going home and I felt really tired and dizzy, and, you know, the next day I felt fine.
Yep,
and after that was great. But I know if that had happened today, they would have probably said you're done for this week, or maybe done for the season. I don't know, but it was just
that's a scary thing, and we've all kind of had that too. And like when I first started fighting, even 2005, 2006, they didn't even really know about concussions. So I could imagine the late 80s.
Oh,
they had no protocol, nothing. Like, you're a little dizzy, get back in there.
Nope.
Kind of call you Sally, get back on.
Right, exactly. It was just go out and do it again. Oh, he got his bell rung. That's what they used to say.
Yeah, bell rung. Yep.
Got your bell rung. Go back. Just walk it off.
Tougher,
you're fine.
Yeah. That's what my dad used to say. Make it tougher.
It's so crazy to think that's how it was back then.
Like you, I was really small. Like I think 9th, 10th, 11th. I mean, even now I'm only 160 pounds. I was so tiny. And I remember in 9th grade I went out for football. They were gonna put me as a nose guard, and I remember like going against the kid that was on the defense. And I was like, I'm like the guy that hiked the ball, and he won state wrestling that year. And I was like, I am not gonna go against this giant guy. Like he was a heavyweight, won state wrestling. The only one from our grade and or our school for 5 or 6 years or something. And I remember looking across at him what am I? It was the first 2 weeks of practice. So you're doing conditioning, and they're like, all right, we'll figure out your positions. And I was like, I am not gonna be here.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I think we're really good because you're gonna be fast. And I was like, this is not for me.
Maybe.
So I remember I quit, and I started fighting, training fighting, maybe 6 months later or something. I was like, I'm done with this. This sucks. But I just remember being so small and just getting tossed around. And I had one of those shots too, where you're talking about where you kind of get blindsided. And I remember it was on a kickoff, and we were kicking off for the team, and the other team started calling off numbers, and we were like, what the hell? But they were pointing at us, calling off our numbers. So one guy's 23, and I was like,
that's me.
Oh, I'm 23, and I was like, what do I do? So then, obviously the guy comes with the ball, you forget, because you're a dumb kid, and I just started running at this guy, and this kid just smoked me.
Right.
I was 8th grade, and I remember being whoa, I don't like that. I didn't see him coming, and same thing I laid on the ground, and mostly for me, it wasn't as hurt as embarrassed. It's I just got wrecked in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Dad was there, everybody was watching. I was like, this sucks. You know, so I wasn't a big fan of playing football. I had fun with my friends and stuff, but we were all around the same size. But when you get into like high school and stuff, and they start getting those real big growth spurts, there was a lot of big kids in my class where I was like, "You guys are gonna murder me."
Yeah.
I remember we had kids that had like that fucking thing on their neck, so like to protect them from going
like the
back,
neck
like
collar.
the collar or whatever.
Yeah,
I was
neck
like,
collar.
dude, that is not the guy I'm messing with. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
dude.
they just looked,
Right.
you know.
And then I called them out,
badass.
like, let's go train jujitsu. And they're like, no, that stuff's for pussies. Like, yeah, right. You just I'm gonna choke you out because I'm only 110 pounds.
Yeah.
So growing up, did you, like, what was the first martial art that you see? Like, obviously for me, it was like Bruce Lee, like Jackie Chan early in movies and stuff. And I remember watching it play, like, with the nunchucks and being like, what the hell is that? But what was, like, your first, like, memory of martial arts or kind of, like, anything like that? Because in the 80s, it was pretty popular with, like, Bruce Lee and stuff, right?
Yeah. And, you know, like, ninjas were all kind of the rage, right? I mean, I think...
Yeah, they used to wear, like, the mask, right? Or they cover the whole face and you just see the eyes.
There was, like, the ninja movies that were, like, usually rated R. So I had to, like, you know, sneak to my friend's house and watch it. I remember watching Enter the Dragon at my buddy's house. That was, like, Bruce Lee.
Yep.
I don't know if that was the last movie he made.
Yeah, you actually sent that to all of us, right?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's such a great movie. But I remember watching that for the first time, and my jaw was just like, this is so cool.
Right.
And, you know, and then I think Mortal Kombat. Well, actually, I graduated high school. I think my first year out of high school was when Mortal Kombat first dropped in the arcades. Now, we can talk about video games a little bit later, but I was a huge arcade dork. But I was just like, oh, sweet, it's got ninjas, and it's got Liu Kang, who was kind of like Bruce Lee-ish, and then it had, like, the Van Damme character.
Which one was Van Damme?
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, yeah.
And actually, Mortal Kombat was supposed to be a Van Damme video game.
Oh, really?
And then, and something happened. They lost the rights to him, or he didn't sign. So then they like changed it into Mortal Kombat. So Johnny Cage is actually, I think,
loosely based off
the Van Damme. And that,
yeah, because he did Street Fighter, right? Van Damme ended up doing
that would have
Street
been
Fighter
later, like in the mid-90s.
Okay, so maybe that's what happened. He dropped the ball in Mortal Kombat, didn't want to do that in Street Fighter.
Yeah, I'm not sure why or what happened, but so yeah, Van Damme was pretty big in like my high school. Like Bloodsport had come out.
Yeah, Bloodsport. Yeah,
Cyborg, I think it was. Was that one?
Is that the one where it was two of him?
No, that was Double Impact.
Double Impact, that one. Yeah, see, so I'm still too young for some of those. So.
And yeah, he was like pumping out him and Seagal. Steven Seagal was kind of big at the time. I mean, they were pumping out movies like every 4 months, and they're all. When you watch them now, they're garbage. But when you're 17 and don't know any better, you think it's the greatest thing. The greatest thing ever.
Especially back then when it was like everybody was into it. So you're like, oh my god, you could do that to people. I can do this and kill somebody. Like that is awesome.
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
So movies were huge. Martial art movies, and it was always the secret knowledge that you could just destroy people by doing these simple things.
And there was always some old guy who couldn't do it anymore, but he would always teach you how to kill somebody. You're like, what? Like Karate Kid, I remember that was being huge when I was a kid. Like everybody talked about that. And then another movie when I was young that came out like the early '90s was called Three Ninjas, and it was just about like an old grandpa who like had his three grandkids for the summer, and he'd teach them karate. And then like the grandpa got kidnapped because he was in like the Yakuza or something back in the day, and so they had to go like save him. Like it was so awesome. It was like the same thing you're talking about. Like you see a young guy when you're in high school, and me, I was like in elementary school, seeing these young kids my age beating adults. I'm like, oh, I could do that all day. So it kind of gives you like that ego growing up, and you get beat up, and you're like, that didn't work.
Right.
Like I tried to hi-ya, and it didn't work. I remember getting beat up trying karate moves so much when I was younger. Trying to beat up like my sister's friends. Like, let's try it. And they're like, what are you doing? I don't know. I saw this guy do it. It worked in the movie. So you didn't. So in high school and stuff, you didn't actually. You just kind of see martial arts, but you didn't actually do any kind of martial arts or anything like that.
I wrestled like in 4th and 5th grade.
Yeah.
I think being from Iowa, it's like you have to.
You have to at least give it a shot. Yeah.
But no, I never. I wish I would have stuck with wrestling. And now at the time, I just didn't
even know.
Yeah, right? I didn't even know.
I'm the same way. Like when I was younger, and even in high school, I was doing MMA, so I was like, I don't need to wrestle. I'm already doing this, So I kind of missed out on that. But luckily, working with Coach Dan, I've picked up a lot of the holes that I had in my game from that. So after high school, you went to the military, correct?
Yep.
What branch were you?
I was in the Air Force.
The Air Force. So did you go directly after high school?
Yeah.
So so were you like, because we have Josh who's going now. He's like he's still in high school, but he's still kind of going to some of that. He's like kind of getting into that. Were you the same way, or did you sign up right after high school and then just go?
I signed up between my junior and senior year.
Okay, so same kind of like Josh.
But I didn't do anything other than I had gone and I got my physical and I signed the papers, but I like didn't have to like go to meetings or anything.
Yeah, because he's got to go do some kind of like prep military like training and stuff. It seems like he has to do, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not exactly sure what branch or what he's doing right now.
All right.
Either,
So yeah, I graduated in May of '91.
Were you 17 when you graduated?
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Actually, and then I actually left in August, like 3 months later.
Right.
And I actually celebrated my 18th birthday in basic training.
In basic training.
Which,
how was that?
well, you just don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think I told a couple of my close friends. But
so did you
did
you sign papers that say you're already 18 at the time because you had already graduated?
I think my parents just had to sign off.
Just sign off for you.
Yeah. Which,
so you just don't don't make it a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of younger guys in there. I think it's not totally uncommon to have a few 17-year-olds.
Especially like, it was very popular back then.
Yeah. So you just don't. I knew within 2 days of being in basic, like, just don't tell him. There's no reason because it's not going to be.
It's not going to help.
Here's your present. You get to clean the stairs with a toilet brush the rest of the day, right?
Oh, that's rough.
So yeah, I joined the Air Force. Actually, my good friend, my best friend in high school, joined too,
Okay.
Air Force, but he joined a few weeks ahead of me. My dad was in the Marines, so like growing up, military was always kind of like an option. Like I always thought of, well,
you always had that kind of back of your head.
Yeah, and he gave me a lot of crap for joining the Air Force, but he still does even.
What branch was he in?
He was the Marines.
A Marine. Okay.
Yeah, Vietnam.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he was,
that's
okay. He was a tough man.
Yeah, and that's a whole other, maybe in another podcast.
Bag of worms, yeah.
But yeah, and it's funny because my buddy joined a few weeks ahead of me. We both went to the same base for basic. So every time we'd be marching, I'd always kind of be looking at the other groups marching the other direction to see if I could. And we all look the same, right? Everyone's wearing the same clothes with the same hat, so everyone's got the shaved head. So even if I saw him, I probably wouldn't recognize him. But one day I had gotten in trouble, not in trouble, but I accidentally bumped. I didn't do it. The drill instructor bumped into me in the dining hall.
Yep.
On purpose, basically.
Yeah.
And then yelled at me, "What are you doing? You're bumping into me," and blah blah blah. And so I had to go out and clean bird crap off, like the terrace with like a little brush.
Jesus. Okay.
So basically, they just need somebody to do that, and they were picking people. Yeah, that day it was me. And I remember I was out brushing on the floor, and then here comes Jason, my buddy, walks by, and we're like trying to talk to each other, but you can't really make it look like he's like. I think he went to tie his shoe. Oh, yeah. Because we're like talking, and then it's like we better get going because there's drill sergeants walking around, and But anyway, I was in the Air Force from '91 to '96, almost about 4 years, 8 months. I was stationed in Maine.
Maine.
Yep. There's a base way at the top. Like when I tell people I was in Maine, they're like, "Oh, Portland, Maine, down by Boston." They're like, "No, we were
way at the top.
We're like 5 hours away from Boston."
Okay.
Like right on the Canadian border. Actually.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Up by Canada.
And worked on. I was a mechanic.
What did you work on?
In Maine, we had B-52 bombers and KC-135 tankers.
Wow.
So the bombers are old school. I mean, these were built in like 1950s to fly, and the reason the United States used to have bases all along the north border, Maine, South Dakota, Michigan, Washington State, all had these bases. Yep.
Okay.
And the goal was not the goal, but the purpose was they would fly over the North Pole and bomb Russia. This was during the Cold War, right? And they had nukes. When I got to the base in it would have been early '92, I think. They had just stopped doing what they call these planes were on alert 24/7 nonstop for the last 4 years, where they had 2 bombers sitting on the end of the runway, running engines,
just
loaded up, ready to take off on a moment's notice to go bomb Russia. And they had just stopped doing that. And that, like I said, it was nonstop for 40 years, 24/7, always ready to go.
That's gotta be so intense to get there to be like, oh, we just stopped this protocol, but it's still kind of in the back.
Yeah, I mean everybody, right? And they had the base just got back. They went to, a Desert Shield. This would have been Desert Shield.
Desert Shield.
When Desert Storm.
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm. This would have been '91, '92.
Yeah.
I was in
I was just
senior
born,
year.
Born in 90.
Yeah, I know.
I was so young.
My senior year is when Desert Storm happened. So when I
Okay.
joined, it was kind of everything was over by that
Oh, it was kind
point.
of
Yeah.
dust that was settling.
And they had just gotten back from a little island in the Indian Ocean that they were flying missions out of there to go bomb.
That whole base that you kind of
That whole
went to.
base,
was there.
yeah.
Okay, so they had all just came back.
Yeah, so they had all these
Wow.
cool stories of what they did. Like they had been there 6 or 8 months or something like that, and I'm like the new 17-year-old or 18.
Yeah, yeah. So
Still
you were
went
just,
behind
you were,
yours.
they were telling you stories that kind of making you like kind of fueled up. Like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
want to do that too. That sounds
But,
awesome. Let's
right,
go somewhere.
but it was all over, and now it's.
So you did you get to go anywhere out of the country while you were in
I went to Canada once.
Canada once? Yeah, that was probably a family trip or something.
No, I was I was in Maine for 2 years, and that's where actually I met my wife. She worked at the
Was she-
dining.
Is she in the military as well?
No, but her father's retired Air Force.
Oh, okay, okay.
So he had been at that base. He retired, and then she was a senior. She might have been 19. Actually, I went to her graduation.
Okay.
'Cause she would have been 1 year behind me. She worked at the dining hall where all the guys would go and eat. Single guys, we lived in
Yeah,
dorms
yeah,
and we
yeah.
go eat. So I met her there. You know, we dated for about a year, and then we got married. We left Loring. That's the name of the Air Force Base in Maine.
Okay.
We went to North Carolina for about 2.5 more
Did
years.
you get with the military? They sent you to.
Yeah. And actually, that base closed in Maine because
Oh, okay.
the Cold War was over, and this was like the start. I think Clinton's first couple of years, and they were like just trying to close
A lot of
military
those
bases because they
unneeded
probably
ones.
weren't needed like they were, during the Cold War.
Yeah, yeah.
So the base was closing, so they gave me a choice. I could have gotten out right then,
Oh,
and then I
wow.
would have only had maybe 3 years in, or I could go to another base, but I had to have at least 2 years at that base. So I had to like extend my 4-year enlistment about 7 months.
Okay.
So that's why total I was in for like 4 years, 7 months. So I went to North Carolina, and we had F-15 fighters there that I worked
Oh,
on.
wow.
And that's actually where my first daughter was born, Taylor.
Okay.
Growing up, I was a big plane guy. I mean, I loved
Yeah.
planes. My grandfather actually had a plane.
Oh, wow.
Would fly with him, but I was I was interested in a lot of things, but planes were
One
a
of those
big
things
part of
that-
that. I wanted to be a pilot. It was probably in a perfect world, but I've got bad eyes, and
Oh,
I
okay.
get really dizzy and sick.
Oh,
You see,
okay.
so I
You just couldn't even get in the
right, my
plane
body's
for
just
that.
not built for that. So I did actually get a ride in an F-15 when I was at North Carolina.
So you did actually ride in one.
Yeah, and
That's where you kind of figured out that you.
well, I couldn't ride roller coasters. when I
Oh,
was
okay, okay.
eight.
So that was something that.
Yeah,
been
it
for
was
a
a.
while.
I remember my dad put me on a spider, some kind of amusement park ride. When I was
Oh
like
yeah,
8.
like the octopus they spin
Yeah,
around.
and I was sick for like 2 days after.
Oh.
So it was always a problem, and I knew it was a problem. But so yeah, and actually that goes back to I went to Canada for there was a big exercise, they call it once a year in Canada, that a bunch of different countries go to, like Germany and England and the United States. They all send planes there, and they do they do training up there for
Okay.
about 2 weeks. So I had gone along, and I think they had like 8 F-15s that went up there with them. We had over 100 F-15s at that base total.
Oh,
but,
wow.
Yep, 8 of them went to this exercise, and the first few days it was raining really bad, so they kind of put
Didn't do anything.
they let it sit. They just said, we're not going to start for 5 days because the weather was horrible. So the pilots were like, well, we still want to get some flight hours in. We want to get the planes moving, because it's not good for a plane to just sit and
Yeah.
not run, because it's you're going to do more maintenance. Anyway, they were picking names out of a hat, and my name got picked out of probably, I think we had 100 maintenance people there. Me and like 4 other guys got picked. So yeah, I got a ride, and I was sick as a dog, but
It
it
was
was
worth it.
awesome.
I'm sure.
It was really awesome.
So how high do those planes actually get? Pretty high. though,
15,
right?
I think they can get 50 or 60,000 feet. I mean, we weren't.
Nowhere near that.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure. But
And we didn't even. He wanted to go to do more things, but I was so
You were
sick.
getting sick,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I've told this story a few times, but when we took off, right, and I had been in the F-15s before when we run engines, because sometimes we'd run engines to test things on the
Okay,
ground,
yep, yep.
right? We never take off, of course,
Yeah.
but so we took off, and another F-15 was like right behind us, and I remember the guy telling me, "All right, you see those clouds up there?" And he was sitting in front of me, I was in the back. He kind of pointed up at an angle, and I saw some clouds. He's like, "We're gonna fly through those, okay?" I'm like, "All right, that doesn't seem too bad." and all of a sudden he just yanked on the stick.
Ooh.
Well, he was pointing at clouds straight up. I thought he was pointing at clouds.
Oh,
That way.
okay, yeah.
So he yanked it straight up. We climbed for maybe 5 or 6 seconds, and then he leveled it back out again, and I threw up immediately.
You threw up, yeah.
I had a little bag, and immediately I just threw up.
Ooh.
And of course, I'm looking around, and we're already, I don't know how high we were, but just like that, we were.
You couldn't even probably see a lot of the ground anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we climbed real quick. At the time, the F-15 was the only jet that could increase speed vertically.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, up to a certain height, and then the air pressure's so light that the engines don't get enough. Yeah, the engines just don't get enough oxygen. They can't feed it, and the air gets thinner, so that the jets don't work or the engines don't work as good.
Oh, okay.
But we were up for maybe 45 minutes. I think I threw up 4 or 5 times. He did let me take the stick once. And
okay.
it's just amazing it's incredible how much power those things have.
I
I would just move it a millimeter to the left, and you could feel the whole plane start to pull, and you could feel your inside start to pull
That's
down.
how I was thinking. Yeah, that pressure when you were saying go straight up. I couldn't imagine how much that felt.
Yeah.
Just like it was squeezing your body.
Yep.
Oh.
I had a G suit on, so the legs would. I don't know if you know what those are, but it's basically air will push as you start to feel G's.
Yep.
It pushes on your legs to keep your blood flowing.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know all the science behind it, but
Yeah.
it's called a G suit, and it basically prevents you from. If you pull too many G's, you'll go unconscious because the blood. You can't keep blood in your brain.
Yeah, they
It
see
just
that when they
stops.
do the NASA things. When
Yeah.
they try to go in a circle. Yeah. Oh, that's so crazy.
Yeah, we landed, and this is probably like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and that night at midnight, I was still
just
sick.
vomiting.
Yep, I laid in bed, and the whole room was spinning. I couldn't eat.
God, it was like you had a concussion basically.
I don't know. It was awesome.
What was the adrenaline rush like that when you got in that plane and he was like, "We're gonna go up," and then you hit? I'm sure everything was just like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, it was a combination of a lot of different feelings of sickness and excitement and amazement.
And you're finally up there. I'm sure after being such a kid, young kid, finally being in that plane, you're like,
Right.
"Whoa, this is actually what it's like."
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine just all those. Yeah, like you said, just a rush of emotions. Plus the being sick. You're like, "Oh, this sucks, but this is so awesome."
Yep, it was definitely. It was, and I got some pictures, and I got I call it my Tom Cruise picture where I'm looking all cool in front of the plane.
Oh yeah, you got your little jacket on.
Right before the flight, of course.
Yeah,
After,
yeah.
I've got pictures of my buddy took pictures after, and I'm like laying
show
on the
those
ground, and you can kind of see some stuff along my jacket.
Little vomit,
Yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't good, but definitely worth it. And
it's one of those stories now, like you could tell everybody the story. It's like,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being up there like that. That's why I'm so like, oh my god, like my heart's just pumping thinking about you going up there. Like I couldn't imagine being there and then being like, all right, strap in. You're like, I'm really doing this. Like this is crazy.
Well, yeah, and before I went up, I had to get ejection seat training
Oh, in case something went
in case
crazy.
something went bad. And there's different,
shit.
he could have pulled both of us out.
Yep.
Or I can do all by myself
Just
without
do it.
him.
Okay.
Because he's like, if something happens to me, you need to get out. So here's what you do. Here's what you need to do for you to get out. But
okay,
my
so
seat
that's-
would not.
wow.
I couldn't eject him. He could eject us both, or I could eject myself.
Just
So if
yourself.
something happened to him, and I had to eject,
He'd be
he'd be stuck. At least I'm
And
pretty
that's
sure
in case
how-
like the pilot passes out or something,
Yeah.
gets shot while you're going or something.
Yeah, I guess. But we were in Canada. So.
Yeah. I know
But you
that.
never know. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
a stroke. You could
That's,
have a weird health problem in the
Right.
middle that.
Or he could have went too fast, passed out, and you're like, what
Possibly.
the hell do I do
I
now?
know exactly. I'm like, all right, I guess I need to eject. But
So,
even ejecting, you got to be under a certain speed.
Oh,
If you
really?
eject too fast, it'll kill you.
Also, if it started going down, you'd have to eject right away before it got too much speed going
Possibly.
down. Then.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's not. I think over like 400 or 500 miles an hour, it's not good.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
probably
sure
not
it
gonna
was
make it.
rip you around. Oh,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. Yeah, that's intense. That's
Yeah.
just getting my heart pumping sitting there thinking about that. That's an adrenaline rush. My hands are sweating thinking about that.
And
shit.
it was
That's
awesome.
crazy.
I know guys that have been in 20 years and never got that right.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
lucky. Actually, my buddy, who my best friend who
Yeah.
joined, he ended up retiring Air Force. He
Okay.
stayed in. He just retired 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh wow, did he end up going and getting deployed anywhere or anything?
Yeah,
like
he
that?
was all over the place.
Okay.
I know he was in Europe, and I'm sure he was in Saudi a few times. He went to Asia. He traveled a lot.
What?
But he never got a ride in F-15.
He never got. Yeah, he never got that luxury. What did he? Was he more of like a combat, or was he like you, a mechanic as well?
He was a mechanic.
Okay.
On a completely different
It was a
plane.
different place.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was actually stationed down in Nebraska at Offutt Air Force Base,
Oh, okay. Okay.
which they have these other. It's a tanker. Well, it's a cargo plane, but it's got some radar on top of it. So it's like it's RC-135 they call it, but I'm not going to go into detail.
Yeah,
but basically, yeah, he traveled a lot because of what his job
his
was
job
and
was.
what he was at.
That's awesome. So, and that's crazy to think that there's so many different types of mechanics. You know, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're a mechanic in the military. Yeah, but what did you do? 'Cause there's
Right.
a million. You could have worked on semis. You could have worked on like
Yeah,
Humvees. You know,
for sure.
there's so many different things that you
Yep.
could do. So, and that's awesome that you were in the Air Force. You got to work on actual planes, and then
Yeah, it was
a lot of the planes you worked on, you know, you got to ride it. You know, or the
Yeah.
one that you worked on, like mostly at this base, you kind of got to get in there and
right. Oh yeah,
feel that power. Couldn't that still just tripped me out? That
if
power.
somebody would have asked me what plane would you like to get a ride in, it would have
That
been
would have been that
F-15.
one.
So
yeah, and so
that
that's
was cool.
that's like as being a kid, I'm sure too. Once you were living that dream as a kid, like holy shit, I'm finally here.
Yeah, I mean, I was
couldn't
playing computer games, like F-15 computer game, 4 years earlier, and now here I am.
in one.
Yeah, you know, I was 20 at the time.
Oh yeah.
I think 20,
So,
120.
so you're still a kid. Still
Yeah.
just hopped up on
Right.
piss and vinegar, ready to just jump in a plane
Yep.
and go. That is so awesome. So you met your wife in the military, you said, and
Yep.
so she moved with you to North Carolina then, because
Yep.
you said you were dating for a year, and
And-
so you were dating for a year, then got married, right?
Yep, we got married in Maine.
In
Actually.
May. Okay.
Yep.
So how long after you got married did you get transferred to North Carolina?
Well, we kind of got married because I knew I was leaving for North
Oh,
Carolina.
so that was kind of
Yeah.
you wanted her to go with you, and she kind of
Yep.
wanted to go as well.
Yep,
And
she
you
did.
already had a kid at that point.
No,
No kid at that point.
no kid at
Okay.
that point.
Oh, you said your daughter was born in North Carolina then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shortly
Yeah,
after, we were married in '93,
Okay.
and Taylor was born in '94.
Okay.
So we did that right, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, you know, I could have stayed in there in the military, but we didn't really. We knew we wanted more kids,
Yeah.
and we had Taylor
Kind
already
of
at the time.
growing out of that aspect of your life.
Yeah, I didn't really want to travel every 3 years, have to pick up and leave. And my wife had been a military brat,
So
you know,
she kinda
so she had
grew up
traveled a
that way.
lot growing up, and she never, you know, changing schools was tough, meeting new friends constantly is tough, and we're like, we didn't really want that for Taylor, and if we have any other kids, so I never, when I joined, I never imagined it being a career. I always thought 4 or 5 years, so I
Kinda
got.
get a career in there, then kind of leave
Yeah.
after that.
So I got out of the Air Force in '96, and basically we moved back to my parents' house for like a month, and looked for jobs all over the place, and I found a job up here at Crenlo.
Okay.
You know Crenlo. It's
Cool.
they've got 2 plants here in Rochester. One's kind of behind IBM,
Okay.
and then there's another one like downtown. They build cabs and stuff for John Deere.
Oh,
They
okay.
do a lot
Okay.
of-
Yep.
yeah. I
So
worked
it's just like a
there.
Factory kind of.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's tough work. I worked there 2 years, and it was a tough 2 years.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was grinding metal down.
Oh,
I did a little bit of welding, long hours, pay at the time. Well, at the time, it was,
It's good for.
yeah, I was like, oh, this is awesome. But thinking back now, I'm like, oh, this is not great pay for what I was doing.
Especially for probably how dangerous and the intensive labor of that kind of a job.
Yeah. I mean, middle of summer, they didn't have any AC or anything, so you'd be like just drenching with sweat, working for 10 hours.
Have you seen any guys pass out there from just being too hot?
No, but
No.
they could have easily.
Yeah. In Lake
It's
City,
tough
they
work.
have a place. It's I want to say Heat and Glow. I think maybe they call it something now, but it was always Heat and Glow when I was growing up, and maybe it's Hearth and Home now is what they call it. But I had a friend that he's actually got me into MMA, but he got too hot one day and passed out on the line and ended up getting like his arm caught on the conveyor, and it dragged him down, and like so
That's not
luckily he got like somebody pulled him off, found him right away, but he just said he just got way too hot, and everyone just was a little too dehydrated because he was training at the time, so it was like I think he maybe even had a fight coming up, so he's a little more dehydrated than usual, kind of cutting weight, went to work, and ended up just passing out. And so it was a really horrible ordeal. So I always ask, like, you guys ever seen him pass out? Because I always hear about him passing out. I'm like, oh, that's so scary.
I'm sure it's happened there. I didn't see it, but I worked a lot of second, third shift too, so it was like smaller people, and not smaller group of people than the day shift. But yeah, you heard stories of people losing fingers. Maybe
Those are
they
horror
get
stories.
caught in a press or something like that. Or I know one guy got his foot run over by a forklift, and
Damn.
forklifts weigh
Yeah, those are no joke.
It just completely crushed
Poor guy.
the foot. Yeah, it's
That's
not good.
rough.
And it's, I mean, rest of your life, you're going to have a bad foot, basically.
Yeah,
And pain,
there's
probably.
there's no real, you're gonna be in disability for a long time after that.
Yep.
That's unfortunate. So how many kids do you have then?
3 kids, 3 girls.
All daughters?
Yep.
What the hell is that like? Good
It's
and
fine. It's
bad?
good. No, it's been great.
I hear that girls though are always a little harder than boys. That's what
I
everybody
think it depends
says.
on the age.
Yeah.
Like you hear like boys are tougher, like age 1 through maybe like 12,
Oh, okay, yeah, 'cause a little
and then
more
girls are
advanced
tougher,
and
maybe 13 through 18.
when they start hitting that, like, yeah, those.
But I don't know
puberty
if
and
that's
stuff,
true or not. No, they've been
You seem
great.
like, yeah, and I mean, you know, your daughter teaches, or trains with us is amazing, you know, super quiet, you know, so.
Yeah, she is.
Um,
Yeah, they've all been. Taylor's 24 now.
Okay.
Samantha is 20. She'll be 21 in a few months, and then Ava's 10.
10. Okay.
She'll be 11 here, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah, never growing up, you always think, oh, I'll have a boy.
You always wish, yeah. You always
Yeah,
have
but
a
now
boy.
I wouldn't change it
No.
for anything. No,
Yeah.
they're awesome.
Yeah, from what I hear, you have really good kids and stuff, and I mean, you're a great guy, and so I assume that you're always going to raise good kids and stuff, you know, because you're very soft-spoken, you know, very respectable, you know, and when you come to the gym and stuff, you know,
Not
you show a
everybody
good
would say
side.
that about me.
I'm sure you have a temper as well as all of us, but you know what, you carry yourself very well, and I think it's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on the podcast and get to know you a little better, because you're always so soft spoken in the gym, and I know that there's
Oh, really?
got to be a little more to you. You know, you're always, when we kind of roll, I'm like, Dax, attack that guy. You're like, yeah, but I'm a little nicer than that, you know. So I'm always trying to get that fire out of everybody.
Yeah.
You know? So it's good to get to know people, because again, I don't think we've ever talked. Maybe last night was one of them, like, or
Right.
the fight at your house, you know, a couple years ago, where maybe that's the most we ever really interacted or outside
Yeah.
of the gym. So I really love being able to kind of get to know people, pick their brains a little bit
Yep.
about all this stuff. So it's really interesting that because I knew you were in the military, but I didn't know what you did. So it's awesome to know that you like worked on planes and you did all that stuff. So that's an intense like job to go into for anybody, you know, the military.
Yeah.
And then a lot of like my uncle, he was in the Air Force. I'm not really sure exactly what he did. I'm gonna have to pick his brain too and kind of figure out now, because when I was younger growing up, I always wanted to be in the military because my uncle was in the military, and I kind of was like, oh, that's a good outlet. But I was obsessed with the movie Sniper when I was younger.
All right.
You know that movie?
Yeah,
So I was
I know
like,
that
I'll
movie.
be a sniper. Then you get to like 14, 15, you're like, you know how fucking smart you gotta be a sniper? You gotta like figure out the
Right.
moves. And I
There's
was
more
like,
to it.
so I can't do that then? They're like, can you do geometry? I was like, no. They're like, yeah, you're not gonna do this. So you gotta get like way up in like trigonometry and all this
Right.
stuff to do it. And I was like, no, I'm never gonna.
You're like, you mean it's not just putting cool.
Yeah, that's what
Black
I thought.
stuff
like
on
I
and
seen the
carrying a
movie. You
gun.
just click it one way and you shoot the guy. Like
Right.
I've seen
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot to, and that could, you could say that about anything, even jiu-jitsu. Like
Right.
people that don't know any different or never experienced it, they kind of look at it like, oh, there's just guys rolling around the mat, until you realize how much depth there is to it,
Right.
how much strategy. And,
Every body part's moving, doing something, and yeah, it's so scary. So you met your wife. We'll go back. Sorry, we're back. Met your wife. You had your first daughter, Taylor, and then what did you do? You moved to Rochester.
Yep, we moved to Rochester.
So what? So you're in North Carolina, and then you decided to move back to Rochester.
I moved to my parents' house in Iowa.
In Iowa, yeah. Oh,
And
okay, yeah.
It was only going to be temporary, and I was looking for jobs. I was applying.
And this
in
probably
Florida.
was maybe the biggest town, kind of closest to
Yeah,
Iowa, or at least one of them. You know.
yeah, and not only that, but it was where we didn't. I don't know. My wife didn't really want to live in Iowa
Yeah.
because you just think Iowa.
And being as a guy that grew up on the West Coast, I got that kind of vibe. You know, I was only 11 or 12, but you're like, you're moving to. Isn't that by Iowa? Like, no, like, it's Minnesota. It's not even close to Iowa. And then you
Right.
find out that we're like
Iowa.
an hour away from Iowa.
Right, and I'm still. I'm a big Hawkeye fan, and I love the state, and great people and
Right.
good place to grow up for sure. But I can kind of see why people.
But nobody really knows what it's like in the Midwest. And I know it's
Right.
like a real Midwest feeling. And it, even if you go to a bigger town, it still kind of feels a little bit at homey or
Yeah.
kind of more like inviting, you know. And
Right.
like if you go to like LA or something, I couldn't imagine
Sure.
what it'd be like there. Be like, get the fuck out of here, guy, you know. As to where we still kind of have like that Midwestern, and we call it Minnesota nice, but it's kind of more of a Midwestern thing where we're all kind of a little more respectful. And,
Right.
those small towns too, I think, is really good to like raise kids in and stuff. Like I know
Yeah.
we have Where do your kids go to school? They go to Byron?
Casson.
Casson. Okay,
Yep.
so that's still a smaller school then, right?
Yeah.
And I know some of the kids in our kids' class, they live in Byron, or they go to the Byron schools, and so
Right.
I like that idea of kind of still getting that big city feel, but getting the small like school of intimacy, and you kind of get, because I feel like a lot of these bigger schools, they kind of have a lot of stubborn or like rambunctious kids that kind of get a lot more attention. I think that takes away from the kids that are kind of more quiet and
Sure.
could actually get a little more potential out of learning. And so I feel like the smaller school setting is a lot better. At least I know it worked for me when I moved from Oregon to the small, because in Oregon we lived in a giant town. It was like Rochester, and so I went to like 5 or 6 different schools, but it was like we had 5 or 6 different classes of 5th graders. And so like I was one of the 200 or whatever 5th graders, and so I didn't feel like I really got like the attention or that I could have gotten. I had a lot of learning disorders, so when I moved to Minnesota, we had a smaller town, smaller group of kids. There was maybe 50, 60 kids in our grade, and so then like you kind of got more of a one-on-one feeling, and so that kind of made me, my learning kind of rapidly grew at that point. Because I remember like, as bad as this was, like 3rd or 4th grade, we had to like read like the kindergartners, and I remember not being able to read the book. And I could read like a couple of the words, but just being like, because I had such bad severe ADHD that I just like I couldn't remember. Like I remember I could like look up and I'd see like the word success, and then I'd like look down and then I'd be like, what was that word again? And I have to look up like U, and then I had to like just remember every single letter.
Right.
So when we were taking notes in class, I'd have like the first 2 words done, and everybody have everything else done. And so then when I moved to like Lake City, we had like that. Like an LD class to where kind of like they were like, here, this is what you need to work on, and every day it kind of went, and I worked on my reading and everything. And then by like 7th, 8th grade, I was reading like 10th grade level, but like in 5th or 6th grade, like just because I feel like that bigger, like they didn't accommodate for my LD at that bigger school.
Yeah.
And so it's I always like preach that if I have kids, I want to raise them up like in Byron or some smaller school where I feel like it's just better for kids. And nowadays it's so crazy out here that I'd rather have my kids in a smaller school than some big like crazy school where
Right.
maybe get shot or up or something. How crazy stuff's going nowadays.
They probably have more opportunities to get involved. Like if I had gone to a big school instead of the school I went to, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't have played football at all. I don't know.
And it wouldn't have probably been as good of an experience. Maybe you'd have
Right.
been on the bench the whole time or something
Maybe.
like that.
Yeah.
And so I definitely feel like it's.
But I know. I mean, although I went to a small school, I was terrible for grades, like really bad. I was bad.
Yeah, I didn't have great grades or anything like that, but I feel like I learned a lot more in that smaller school, and I kind of actually picked up reading and stuff like that, and they kind of were more encouraging me into doing stuff as to where like I felt like I was more like an outcast in the bigger school, and just like that kid's dumb, just push him off to the side. He's not gonna, he's not gonna get it.
Probably easier just to kind of be forgotten in the big
Yeah,
school.
yeah, and that's how I felt a
I
lot
can see
too.
that.
And I got picked on a lot too in Oregon, just kind of being an outsider. ADHD, I was a crazy kid. Like it was, and I nowadays I definitely go back and see like being another little kid, being like, who the hell is this crazy little kid? Like we're not gonna think like obviously I understand now, but being a kid it was really hard to kind of get that. Then when I moved to Lake City, like we had kids that were a little rambunctious, and so we kind of like were grouped together and like, oh, so I'm not the only kid, So we're in Oregon, I kind of felt like that, like again like that outcast, like on the soccer field everybody's like, no, you're not playing soccer with us. You're too crazy.
You're too nuts.
And I'm like, well, I just want to kick the ball really hard in your face. Like, isn't that bad? Like, I just remember being the craziest
Wrong
little
sport.
kid. Yeah.
You're supposed to kick people in the face.
Yeah. So luckily, I found fighting at a young age, but that saved me a lot. So you had your kids. You moved to Rochester, and then you had. How long were you living in Rochester before you had? How old were you when you had cancer? Because that's something we're going to kind of bring up, and if you don't mind getting into that now.
Sure. So yeah, I worked at Crenlo, like I mentioned before, for about 2 years, and then I got a job at IBM. This would have been 98.
What were you doing at IBM?
I was I did a few different jobs. The first one was like as a system analyzer. They used to manufacture servers here in Rochester, IBM. So before they would ship them out to the customer, we would run a bunch of tests on them.
Just make sure everything was correct.
Hook them all up and run a bunch of like a exerciser to kind of stress the hardware.
Okay, yeah.
See if we could get it to fail.
Oh,
and then we'd replace the parts if it failed. So I did that for a couple of years. I did a few other jobs at IBM. I ended up getting my degree while at IBM. IBM paid for my college, which was awesome.
That's awesome.
And actually, I had GI Bill too.
Oh, okay. So that helped a little bit.
Yeah, it helped a lot. So it was a pretty good gig. So yeah, I got my degree, and then at IBM, I ended up getting like a college job. right? Because when I was first hired on at IBM, I was kind of a
Lower guy.
lower guy, non-college. The pay was better than Crenlow, but it
wasn't as good if you would have had the college degree or whatever.
So the last 7 or 8 years, I worked as like a remote support rep at IBM.
Yeah.
So basically taking calls, customers would call in. It'd be like Walmart's servers down. They can't process orders, so we would help them. We'd log into their system remotely and do work, or we just tell them to do things, or send logs back, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, okay.
Usually people think, oh, I do remote support. They're like, oh, you're like the person I call with my PC when I can't open my browser.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit more than that, right? We're talking to like system admins
and you're doing like corporations.
Yeah,
and stuff like
it'd be like IT people that work in IT in these different companies. That was our customer with their multi-million-dollar.
So you're above the guys. So like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do.
Right.
Like, well, I got you. But
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So,
you gotta be pretty smart to do some of that stuff, though, or at least like pretty savvy at like that computer kind of stuff and knowing like, well, this program's not doing this. So I'm sure it's a lot of trial and error learning as well.
Right, and they've got, at IBM, you're kind of responsible for one area.
Okay.
And you're an expert, or should be an expert in that one area.
Okay, so
but there's a lot of other teams to rely on. So it's not like you have to know everything.
So if you couldn't do it, you'd be like, okay, well, I know this guy and this.
Yeah.
I'll send you to this guy. He'll be able to. Okay.
I mean, they've got it structured really well. I've always been interested in computers. I mean, it's funny because I'm interested in like so many different things.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I loved comic books. I loved football. I liked cars. And it's like, there's nothing I'm not really somewhat interested in.
Right.
So, but yeah, I was kind of a computer guy in high school. So working at IBM was really great because I kind of picked up on stuff, and I did a lot of self-teaching things, and then went to college for information systems, which is in the IT arena.
Yep.
Actually, I might be starting to get my master's next month.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
So,
you never stop learning, right?
No.
That's awesome.
No.
And that's obviously going to help you further your career a little bit now as well.
I'm at actually Mayo Clinic now.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not at IBM anymore, you're at Mayo. Because were you at Mayo? You've been there for a few years now, right? Because when I was working at ABC, I used to go down for lunch and I'd see you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so you've been there for a little while now.
It'll be 3 years this summer.
3 years now.
Yep.
That's awesome. And so obviously you're liking it then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you do the same kind of stuff then there, just...
A little different. I do information security.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're in charge of like... You wear security like guard stuff? Or?
Like data, like computer...
You
not
just
actual,
hacking stuff and all that
right.
stuff. Yeah.
Not physical security.
That'd be awesome. I could do a job doing security.
I mean, sometimes
I couldn't do the
touch.
stuff you do though. That's
Well,
it's above my pay grade.
again, I'm like I was telling you before, I'm like the guy with the fives. So I think I make up for maybe lack of being real smart is just by working hard. Putting your nose to the grindstone, and I feel like I do that on everything. So I would not say I'm that smart. It's just.
I feel like that's your that's kind of your mentality too. Since you've been young, you kind of do that with everything. Right. I see that in jiu-jitsu as well. So it was it's kind of cool to see where that comes from too. Like I said, you're humble, but you also grind. You push hard. You learn the techniques. You do everything well.
Try.
We'll get into that here a little bit.
I tell my daughters, show up on time. Act like you care. I'm like, you don't know. I mean, I do care, but if you don't care about a job or something, just act like you do.
Pretend, yeah.
Right. Pretend if you have to. Show up on time, act like you care, and do your best, and you'll be fine. I mean, that's like 99% of all of life if you just do those 3 things.
Exactly. And I always tell, and the podcast I've been preaching it too, if you watch any of them, it's just like, you're going to fail at everything you try. Like, so just pick up the pieces and try again. Like, it's never going to work out the first way. Everything's gonna fail or not work out, but you can always learn from something and do better. And like you said, there's a couple things you can do: show up on time, work hard, and pretend like you like it. Because obviously there's days when I'm at the gym where I'm just like, God, I'd rather just be rolling right now instead of teaching people. But and it's mostly with kind of the adults class. I'm like, I wonder if I can just get everybody to roll today. Do you think we can make a roll for 45 minutes? And it's like, I can't do that. But there's days where I'm teaching and I'm just like, I gotta kind of like. Now I got to get myself into this, and then I got to get them through this technique portion, and then I could do my fun part where I can kind of make everybody roll with me and kind of do that. So, I've had a lot of jobs I don't like, where I've faked it till I made it. You know?
I mean, I didn't like Crenlow was tough, and there were some jobs at IBM that were pretty tough, but you just gotta
You gotta get through it.
Got to get through it, and that's what'll drive you maybe to find something else.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've preached this too on this podcast. Kind of get a little bit off topic. It's just like if you're somewhere you don't like, figure out to make steps to something you can do. Whether it's a job, relationship, whatever it is, you don't like where you're living right now. Just like figure out what the steps are to like. You can't just quit everything and just
Right.
back up and start new. It's like we got to make steps and goals and to make that work and to be able to slowly make it a process to get to that bigger goal or whatever it is, to a new career or whatever. Like you said, you're going to go back to your future masters, so that's setting another goal, and then you got little goals to get to that, so
And you can't just sit there thinking something magical is going to change.
exactly. And I said this in
It won't.
the big suicide and depression podcast I did. I think it was my last podcast. It's just like you can't sit there and feel sorry for yourself, and and it sucks to say that to people or to hear that, but like at the end of the day, you really can't feel sorry for yourself, because the only one that's really going to change everything and make everything better is you. Nobody's going to come along and be like, here, I got this. Oh, I'm going to carry you through life.
There's no magical wand for any of this.
Yeah.
You just gotta.
It's hard, like you said, hard work. Show up on time and act like you're enjoying what you're doing. If you don't, just figure out what you can do, and then I think if you do a crappy job too, but you're setting goals when you're not at work to do another job or do something you enjoy, it's going to make the job that much funner. Because then you're at work like, okay, I know what I got to get through this day, so I can start working at this, and this money's going to help me do this. And that's kind of where I'm at with this podcast, is like snow removal and stuff like that. I hate doing that, but I'll do it because I know it's going to help me save up money to further something new. So every time I'm out there, I'm just thinking about like, what can I do for a podcast? Like, I'm just shoveling like, what's my next guest? Who am I going to do? So I'm always trying to preach that to everybody else and kind of keep it in my head to kind of be accountable for yourself.
Sure.
So let's get back into we'll get back into the big C, right?
Big C.
And I know that you did a little bit of like a interview with the gym already, where you kind of already talked a little bit about this, but I kind of wanted to kind of talk to you about it because I just got to watch the video and I kind of had some questions and stuff about what we were doing. So how old were you when you actually were diagnosed, and were there like warning signs, or was it just something that kind of just popped up?
So I think I must have been 38. It's 2012. I was born in 73. So does that make sense? I would have been 39.
39.
Must have been 39. So like the summer of 2011, I started feeling like I'd eat food and I felt like I was getting stuck. Like, have you ever ate like hard, like you eat those butterscotch candies or hard candies and you accidentally swallow it?
Yeah, I kind of.
And you get that weird. It's not really painful. It's just kind of irritating for a while. That's what I was getting. Usually like eating sandwiches, stuff like that, and I'd have it for a week, and then maybe I wouldn't feel anything for a month, and then maybe it would come one day, and then it would no feeling for 2 weeks, and it was happening more and more often throughout that summer of 2011. So I think maybe in October-ish, or maybe September, October-ish, I was talking to my wife about it. She's like, well, you should go get it checked out. I'm like, all right, fine. Made an appointment, went and talked to the doctor. They just took my blood pressure and basically looked in my ear, looked down my throat and asked me, are you eating something different? Maybe they thought maybe there's some allergy I was having and it was causing my esophagus to like swell up or something. Yeah, okay. So they're like, why don't you take a food diary, and when you have the feeling or the pain, write down what you ate and we'll try to figure out what it is. I was 39 at the time, no history. I don't smoke. I drink casually, maybe 1 or 2 drinks a week at best. Was at a decent weight. I mean, I was a little heavy, but I wasn't like obese, right?
Yeah,
I've worked out most of my life. So it should, the doctor was playing the odds, and the odds were, it was nothing serious.
Severe, yep.
So I went home, I did that for like a month, and it was getting a little bit worse and worse and worse. And I couldn't, looking at the food I ate, nothing really made sense.
It's kind of a little bit of everything, I guess, at this point.
So then in probably November, I went back, and the doctor was like, okay, we're going to do some x-rays. And what they had me do is I would drink this chalky, white, thick liquid, and then they would do like a video x-ray.
Oh, kind of watch
They could see it wash down my esophagus into my stomach. And I did that. They're like, all right, go home. We'll let you know what the results are within a week. A week later, I get a call. Looks fine. We don't really know what's going on. And actually, I went in and they showed it to me, and they played the little video, and you could see the liquid kind of wash down. And they're right, it looked fine.
Okay.
So at that point, I think they said, well, we can do a scope. Actually put a camera down there and look at it. And this was early December 2011.
So you've been having these symptoms for probably, 6 or 8 months?
Yeah,
So it's
easily.
for a while.
Yep, it's been a while. And they're like, well, the scope's going to cost this much. You can do it before New Year's or after New Year's. And I can't remember what the problem was, but for some reason it was going to cost us more if we had done it in December and not waited till.
Waited that. Okay.
So I'm thinking, we'll wait, right? We'll wait till the end of the, start of the new year, and
Because
then.
at this point it wasn't anything severe. You're still thinking,
Yeah,
what
we're
the
just
hell's
thinking,
going on?
whatever, it's not that big a deal. And I remember having that debate in my head. And then I think it got really bad one day, and I'm like, you know what, I need to go get this thing scoped. I want to go into the holidays with like a clear whatever.
Yeah.
So I had the scope probably like December 15th or 16th, somewhere around there. And my wife went in with me, and I remember waking up because they put you out. I don't know if they like put me completely out, but I was at a level where I didn't really know what was going on. Yeah, I was sedated pretty good. And I just remember the doctor telling, what he had found, and he took a biopsy to
By the
test
time
it.
you had woke up, they
already knew
Okay.
when I woke up. And they're like, we took a biopsy to see if it's, I can't remember the names. There's the benign.
Yeah, okay,
And
benign,
then-
yep.
Yeah, or if it's just like a tumor that grows it needs to be taken out, but it's not something that would spread. Yeah. They're like, but it's, what I've seen in the past is 80 to 90% the bad one.
Yep.
So we went home that night, like totally floored, like what the heck just happened?
Just basically kind of a 180 of
Right.
the whole world.
And like, why did I let this, telling myself, why did I not go to the doctor 3 months before and,
Right. And
like
those are kind of those kind of regrets, or like those kind of like feelings that kind of wash over you with like, God, I could have done so much better,
Right.
so much earlier, And
Yep.
Again, when it kind of comes to it, though, it's one of those things that you didn't know because
Right.
nobody had made it seem serious. It's just like,
Nope. And
I
it
got
wasn't-
cut in your throat, at this point, you
Right.
didn't really know, and so.
And it didn't seem serious. It wasn't like I was, bleeding out or had some crazy pain. It was more uncomfortable feeling. There was never really any pain with it at all. It was just uncomfortable. So then this was I was referred to Mayo,
Okay.
which was awesome because it's awesome to live.
Were you
in
at
town.
OMC at the time?
Yeah,
or
I was at
okay.
OMC.
Okay.
Yep, they referred me to Mayo. I had my first meeting with my doctor, like this is what happened. So they referred me to Mayo. This was like the week right before Christmas, literally a day after I had first found out. And they said, your first appointment at Mayo is January 4th.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that's like damn near 3 weeks away. And I don't know anything at this time, other than it's the bad one.
Yeah.
They already told me that. And I'm like, I have to go through the next 3 weeks not knowing anything. I mean, it's just torture. So I called in work because I didn't feel like going to work.
Yeah,
Needless to say.
I couldn't imagine
I'm laying in bed at like 10, feeling pretty horrible, and I get a phone call, and it's Mayo, and they're like, can you be here in an hour? I'm like,
Of
yeah,
course,
I can
yeah,
be here in an hour. Throw my clothes on, race into town, go meet my doctor for the first time, and at first I think the first meeting is just what happened, what came, how you got to this point, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, we're still looking at things. I'm going to talk to the radiologist. I'm going to talk to a surgeon. We're going to like develop a
figure out what
plan
the plan
for you,
is,
right?
yeah.
So then later on, it was either the very next day or later that day, they said, we're going to start chemo like in 3 days.
Okay.
So
Wow.
Christmas was on the Sunday. I started chemo, I think the day after Christmas.
Oh, wow.
So I went from thinking I'm not even going to have my first meeting or my first appointment until like January 4th to basically
Just
starting
getting there
chemo
right
within
now.
3 days, which was awesome because
And-
I'm like,
Was it, did they give you like a stage for what stage it was
yeah,
at?
it was stage 2B. There's like letters behind it.
Yep,
My
yep.
wife would know now.
But it was still, so it was like stage 2B, whatever, but it's treatable. And because
Yeah.
there's some point where there's non-treatable.
Yeah, stage 4 would be bad.
Stage 4 is not, yeah.
3,
Is that
I
what
think
it
it
is?
was close to stage 3 because it had grown into my lungs.
Oh, it had
little bit.
spread already.
It had spread.
So what was the cancer actually that you were diagnosed with then?
Esophagus
Esophageal
cancer.
right?
Yeah,
And
but
that's
there's-
actually pretty common, I hear. That's actually
Yeah,
pretty
I think
common.
it's becoming more common.
Oh.
I don't know if they know why, or if is it maybe we're just seeing it more because we're looking for it more,
Right.
or who knows?
And, God, I want to say Joe Rogan or somebody was just talking about this. I'm gonna have to look up.
He was.
I thought he was, right? Wasn't he talking
like
about
within the last week or two.
I thought so, yeah. I swear I just heard that too.
Yeah, it's not a good. It's a
Yeah,
bad
and
one.
how it, from, God, I don't want to say the bad,
Memories
anything
info.
bad info about it, but I want to say it's one of those ones that when they don't find it until it's like stage 3 or 4, where it's pretty
Yeah.
far along.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you kind of knowing your body, kind of got a little bit of lucky figuring out that early of a stage, even though it was
Yeah.
still kind of spreading, but you kind of got it
Right.
at that point.
Right. Yeah. I had they call it a PET scan. It's like a huge machine, and you lay down in it. Yeah, first they inject you with some
Like dye.
dye
goes through
that goes through
everything,
your
yeah.
blood. So when they do the scan, everything like shows up bright. So I actually had a PET scan. I forgot about that. Probably the first day I went to Mayo when they called me and said, "Can you be here now?" I had a PET scan that day.
Okay.
And then that's when I met the doctor later on, and he's like, "Okay, this is what it is. We know what it is now. We know what we're dealing with. We know that's when they said you're stage 2. Blah, blah,
Stage 2,
blah.
yep.
So it was a tumor right where my stomach and esophagus meet. There's a
So
name
right
for
like
it.
the lining.
Yeah,
of
right
that,
where they
yeah.
meet. It was right there is where the tumor
And
was.
so right when it was going into your stomach, every time that's why you're feeling
Yep.
because it was hitting
Food
that
was getting
spot.
caught, and then it would slowly work its way through into the stomach. But there, it was definitely a little bit of
And
a
I'm
clot
sure as
there.
time was going, it was kind of getting a little bigger and bigger
Yep.
and bigger.
Exactly.
And so that's why it started messing with you more and more.
Yep.
Okay.
I know they said it had grown into my lung. I can't remember which side a little bit, but it looked to be just in that area. Now they did say the PET scan will only pick up a pea size or bigger.
Okay.
So if the tumor or the
It'll be
cancer is bigger than a
smaller.
pea, they'll see it. If it's less than that, there's a good chance they won't.
Okay.
So you still don't really know how bad it is, right?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah.
could have small than pea things
Just
all over your
everywhere.
body, right? I started chemo, like I said, the day or two, might have been the second day after Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
I did 6 weeks of chemo, lost my hair, like maybe week 2 or
So
3.
at this point, how many kids did you have at this point?
3.
You had all 3 of your
Yeah,
kids.
Ava
right?
was 3 at the time.
Ava was three. Okay,
This
okay.
was 7 years ago.
And how old? Okay, so wow, so 7 years. Okay.
Yeah, 2012.
So how old are you now then?
I'm 45.
45. Okay. So you had all 3 kids.
Yep.
Ava was 3 right after Christmas. So 1 day or 2 days after Christmas, you started chemo. You said you had it for 6 weeks
6 weeks of chemo.
and lost your hair.
Lost my hair. Hair went out after like week 2.
Okay.
It's funny, like one day everything was there and was fine, and then I woke up and I think I took a shower, and all of a sudden clumps of hair
Started feeling
just started falling out, and then combed it, and it was gone. I didn't have to, it was literally from hair to bald in 20 minutes
real.
with no razors or anything. It just fell out.
Did you have a facial hair back then, or were you still clean
No, I
shaved?
think I
'Cause
was
I see
clean.
a lot of pictures of you on your Facebook where you're pretty clean shaved for a long
Yeah,
time.
I think it was clean at the time.
Okay.
So 6 weeks of chemo. At one point, I'd go in, and it would take like 5 or 6 hours to do the chemo because they had to do it like a slow drip.
Yeah, so how do they, because I've obviously seen it in movies and stuff, but I never really talked to anybody that's actually gone through all that, how they did it. So you go in, basically just sit in a chair.
Yep.
They kind of just, do you have like a pick line or like a line in
I
you
had a
all the
pick.
time for
Yep.
6 weeks then?
I had a
And so
pick.
it goes all the way up and
Yep. They feed it through, and it from what I understood, it went right into my
right
heart.
into your heart, yep.
Yeah.
Because with cystic fibrosis, my niece and
Okay.
nephew have that. Usually it's like once a year or so. Now, luckily, they don't have to do as much, but they go in
Nice.
for a week and they have a pick line for a week, and it goes in through the vein directly in, and so all of the medicines and stuff that go directly into their
Yeah,
heart.
it gets right to the
Yeah,
source.
and it goes right into it. So so I'm kind of familiar with that pick line. So I kind of knew a little bit about that, but I didn't know if they did that with everybody for chemo. So
I don't know if they do it for everybody, but it probably
For you,
depends on the
yours
kind of
was,
chemo and
yeah.
et cetera, how much. But yeah, I would go in, and it was usually like 4 hours. I'd sit, be on a tablet or read a magazine while this thing was dripping into me.
what did, if you don't mind, I'm gonna kind of pick your brain a little bit if you don't mind. What did it feel like? Did you feel the actual chemo going into your body? Like, did it hurt going in? Like, was there any kind of feeling, or was it just kind of like when you get like an IV, like when they just do an IV drip of like
I think it felt-
rehydrating you?
I think when I had the pick in, my first chemo might have been without the port. It might have been right into my heart.
Just right into your vein.
And then I think they
directly.
scheduled me to do the
The
pick
pick line.
later.
Okay.
I don't think I felt much during it, but I definitely
The
after.
effects of it,
Yeah.
getting into your body.
They said this was in the winter, so they said the cold air would feel really cold. So they told me I should either cover up. So I'd go outside, it'd be like 20 degrees, but
They feel like negative 20.
yeah, it was like you just feel it breathing into your lungs. I felt really tired. weak. Just I felt like I had run a marathon all the time. Like I was just beat.
Just wake up
constantly.
tired, go to
Yeah.
sleep. Yeah.
Even though I wasn't doing anything.
Did you get like, would it make you like nauseous or like how, was there any, because I think that's one of the things that kind of some people get is like a nauseous feeling.
I
where they
never
kinda
really
sleep all
had
the
that.
time. Never really had that
No,
though.
they say it's hit or either
hit or
you do
miss.
it or you don't, and I think it depends on the kind of chemo. There's like, I think there's
I'm
hundreds
sure
of
there's,
different kinds of
yeah, a bunch
chemo.
of
The one I
different
had, no, I just felt beat and weak a lot.
Trained.
That was my biggest thing. Which thank God, because I think there are people that it's a lot tougher on.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, losing my hair is not that. I mean, I kept it pretty short at the time anyway, so that didn't bother me. But I couldn't imagine, people with even especially women with hair. I mean, it's tough.
And that's, see that this right here, this part is exactly goes into like how good of a guy you are, because you're sitting here, you've gone through this, but you're still being empathetic for people that could have been worse for. And you're looking at the positive of how lucky you were that you didn't get it as severe as some people, and so
Right.
you're still feeling, so that's a testament of how great of a guy you are as a person. So that's
Thanks.
that just kind of points it out yourself, and because we always try to think, like could have been worse,
Right.
and some people are like, no, I had the worst, I could,
Yeah.
couldn't have got any worse, but you definitely,
Well,
you're like, I know I got lucky, and I kind of, you only had a little bit of the symptoms again, so that's awesome just to kind of hear you think about how other people are.
Well, I remember going
numbers.
after my chemo. I had 6 weeks of radiation.
So you did radiation as
Yeah,
well. Okay, that's
yep.
what I was gonna ask next.
So you'd go into, to get your treatment, and it's pretty hard to feel too sorry for yourself. When you see like kids. So I don't want to get too choked up about that, but anyway, I had radiation for 6 weeks. After the chemo, I think it was 5 days a week, and the weekends were off. And you get little tattoos. I got like little black tattoos. You probably never. I guess I don't roll my shirt off those, but so what they do is they lay you down on the radiation machine, and you got to be in a certain spot at the same time every time, right? So the radiation can hit exactly where it needs to hit. So I would lay down at a certain angle, then they'd pull up these lasers that would like hit the tattoos to make sure I'm in the exact same spot, and then they turn on the radiation.
Okay.
Yeah. So that way they were trying to just hit the tumor exactly right on the button. So the tattoos are still there. I don't know. They're just like little black dots.
Yep.
I thought about doing something cool with them, but I don't know what that would be.
So radiation, so that's got to be completely different than the chemo then, right? That's got to be a completely different feeling on your body, different. So what were the kind of side effects you had from that? Was there like internal pain, or like how did that affect
The
you?
radiation was fine up to about week 4.
Kind of when it
And
really started
then,
getting deep into the...
and then I started getting, and they were actually hitting me on the back.
Okay.
I started to get a sunburn on my back, and I think you can still see it there.
Where the patches
Yeah,
were?
and it got worse and worse, up to the point where it was like blood, like it was oozing pus and blood, and it was like not a perfect circle, but it was just that one spot. All the skin around it was fine, and this spot was just
where the radiation was
burned.
actually hitting.
Yeah, I mean it was like a really, really, really bad sunburn right on that spot, and that was probably the last week or two. I was fine, and then all of a sudden one day it just started getting red, and then it got worse and worse, and the last day of radiation, I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, because it was really bad. Like I said, it was just oozing.
Raw. And
it was raw, and it was terrible.
And hitting that same spot over and over, there's no, and so you said you were doing 5 days, so then you had 2 days to kind of let it heal, and then again, it was just right back on that raw spot. So.
Yep. So I drive in to work, and I was.
You're driving yourself.
Yeah, I was driving in from Casson. I'd do like a half-hour radiation, and I drive home. And IBM has awesome benefits, and I was basically off work for 6 months during this whole time. I don't know how I couldn't. It's tough to sit down and try to do work when you have.
Right, I couldn't imagine. And not only the physical, but also the mental training of going through everything. When you were doing the radiation, could you feel a swing in your body with a little more energy and stuff once you got off the chemo, or was the radiation making you just as tired and kind of beat like that was?
It was
the chemo.
probably a little better. My energy was better.
But then again, it kind of subsided with that physical pain of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had like an orange tint to me. I think the chemo was changing my. I've got some pictures and I look orangish.
Is there something it does to your body with the?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I didn't look. I mean, if you looked at me, besides my bald head, you could be like, yeah,
It's a little
there's
off.
something going on with him. If you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I was first diagnosed, I was probably like 220.
220.
I lifted weights quite a bit most of my life. I was kind of like if you did know me and saw me, you'd be like, oh, he's kind of a meathead.
Yeah, kind
So
of.
that's kind of what I was. Yeah, I was a stalker guy, and I had extra weight. I probably wasn't as beefy and strong looking. I wasn't as much as I looked. People probably thought. I mean, I lifted weights and I enjoyed lifting, and I was somewhat strong, but I lost about 50 pounds. And actually, we can talk about the surgery because the surgery was the worst by far.
Yeah, because you had did chemo and radiation, and so after the radiation, they do some kind of like testing to see if it's gone away, right, or if it's getting bigger.
I had another PET scan, and it was pretty good news. I mean, it looked like it looked
smaller.
Weaker than it was before.
Okay.
It was still there,
Yep.
which is kind of disheartening. You're like, geez, I went through this chemo and radiation, but yet it's not like it's disappeared.
Right.
It's still there. And they gave me like a month between my radiation and when my surgery was like a month, maybe even 5 weeks, because they kind of wanted my body to like
Kind of heal
up and recuperate and get a little bit healthy again.
Yeah, I'm sure they wanted you to get your little bit of immune system back,
Yep.
kind of fighting your.
Yep.
Okay.
So I had the surgery, I think it was like late May 2012. And at this point, I was probably still over 200 pounds before my surgery. I lost the weight and muscle and everything after the surgery. So I went in, it was a Thursday, and the surgery is called an Ivor Lewis.
Okay.
That's the name. I think that was the name of the surgeon that first did it, like
Oh,
back in the
okay,
50s. So they named it after him. And basically what they did is they took my esophagus and they cut out a big chunk, like from the stomach up till maybe around here.
Okay.
And then they took my stomach and stretched it and tied it. I don't want to say tie it off, but they
Yeah.
connected it up. So I don't have a stomach right now. I do, but it's instead of being like that one stump,
It's just like a
chunk,
little.
it's like stretched out. It's like a stretched bag.
Okay.
And I'll get into what the complications are to that when a lot of it affects jiu-jitsu.
I know that.
Yeah,
We've kind of talked about this a little bit. So.
But so I went in on a Thursday. They did the surgery, and this is the first time I ever had surgery in my life, and I didn't really know what to expect. I thought, you watch TV shows where it's like a nice little cuts and hey, we're done and everything.
Yeah.
And the patient's like up talking 2 hours later, and they go home and everything's. When I woke up from the surgery, I felt like I'd been run over by a train like 5 times.
Ugh.
It was, I didn't even imagine there was pain like that you could feel. It was bad, way worse than I could even imagine. I was in the hospital 9 days. So, think about it. You go in there for a surgery.
Right.
It's not like you got in an accident or something crazy.
Yeah,
This is just a surgery they're going to do, and you're in there for 9 days. They told me before, like, this is a really bad surgery. This isn't, you're going to, and I was like,
Right.
whatever, I'm tough. I can do
Yeah.
That's for the weak people, right? I mean, but no, it was no joke. I wouldn't wish that surgery or that on anybody. Like I said, I didn't imagine there was pain like that possible. And I was really bad with the pain meds. I'd get sick.
To make you.
Whatever they gave me morphine, I'd get sick and throw up. And they didn't want me to throw up because of what they had.
Stuff, yeah.
So it was like they were working on trying to find what pain relievers would help, and everything they tried, I'd just get sick, and I already felt horrible, and then on top of that, getting nauseous and dizzy, and it was not. The first 3 or 4 days was just, it was tough.
Torture. Right?
I'd fall asleep and I'd wake up thinking, 8 hours passed, and I'd look at the clock, it'd be like 20 minutes.
Whoa.
And I didn't sleep well at all. I couldn't eat for
Those 9
a
days
week.
must have been rough.
I think I had 9 tubes hooked to me at one point. I'm pretty sure.
Like feeding tubes and stuff
Feeding
like this.
tubes, and I had drain tubes. I still have pretty good scars, 2 on the side. I had 4 drain tubes, 2 on the side and 2 on my left side.
Oh wow.
Feeding tube, IV, et cetera, et cetera. They tried to get me up to walk like that first day,
There's no.
and I couldn't. Again, I didn't know that kind of. It was impossible. I mean, I was leaning. They had me this walker that had a platform on wheels,
Mm-hmm.
and I would basically lean on it and like drag my feet, and like they wanted me to walk 20 yards down the hall and back, and it felt like the hardest thing ever.
I couldn't imagine.
So, and what's funny is, I had 2 epidurals,
Okay. Yeah.
2 of them during the surgery. Well, like day 3 or 4, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna take your epidurals out," right? So they prep me for that, and they turn me over, and they're like, "Oh, the epidurals fell out." And
So they thought that you were kind of being
Right.
known for these days, but you weren't.
they don't know when they fell out. They don't know if they fell an hour before that. I think they probably fell out maybe when they moved me from surgery back.
Oh, okay. Because that's why you think you had so much pain then.
Maybe. I know at one point before they thought they were going to take the epidurals out, when they realized they weren't even in there, the doctor came in and was talking to me, and I just started shaking really bad. And they're like, the nurse was kind of like, what's going on? And the doctor's like, oh, he's going into shock because of pain.
With how much pain you're in.
And I think I was so messed up, everything was just horrible, that I think I just shut down and was like just dealing with it.
You probably couldn't even like mentally process what
Right.
was going on. Cause
So they're like, and at that point they're like, whatever, just give him something. And I remember like they gave me something, I don't know what it was, in my IV, and then like 5 minutes later I wasn't shaking again. But so yeah, I got out of the hospital, like I said, 9 days. I went home, and I didn't eat for 7 days. They had me on a feeding tube, and I lost probably 40 pounds in a month. I would be willing to bet. I mean, like I said, I went into the surgery over 200. I think I weighed myself maybe a month after, and I was like touching on the 160s.
Oh wow.
And my insides just felt like they've been through a blender, because I've got a pretty good scar on right down my stomach, and I've got another one on my back. I don't know if you.
I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, they're both about 8 to 10 inches. The surgeon actually said he could have shaken his own hand in my body, because
Where they cut both sides.
because they cut both sides. They had to get to both sides, and they just didn't do that surgery. They also like looked around my organs for the
Make
cancer.
sure anything was spreading or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
so they looked at my lungs, and so they were like,
kind of
fiddling
messing
around.
and moving everything. So
Yeah.
everything when you woke up. So it wasn't just your stomach.
No, it was
everything was sore.
everything.
All your organs had been moved and looked at.
yeah, I think they had to collapse one of my lungs. They might have done 2. They might have done 1 and then
And then
done
the
it.
other.
I can't remember. They had to cut through my rib cage, so my rib cage felt raw.
Yeah. Just kind of for a second, when they cut your rib cage, so then did they have to like wrap you so everything would like
Yeah,
all your bones have to go back together
Yep.
in perfect order
Yep.
then?
that was.
So that was another obstacle on top of everything, I'm sure.
Yeah, I try not to think about it, because those 7 days or 9 days after my surgery, it was like, yeah, it's bad.
Probably some of the worst days of your life, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but then they said they took out a bunch of it's how cancer spreads easily.
Lymph nodes?
Lymph nodes. They took out like 24,
Oh, wow.
and they tested them, and they said there was cancer in like 15 of them.
So they're glad they took those out.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, they said they looked dead though. They said there was in there, but
The
you know,
cancer, like cells look dead.
yeah. But
Okay.
of course, it only takes one, right?
One alive,
And
yeah.
at one point, another doctor was like, you might have to do chemo again. And
After your
yeah,
surgeries
and I
and
just was thinking, I don't think I can. And I mean, this is the worst I was at. I don't know if I can do that anymore. I mean, 4 days later, I felt a little bit better. I'm like, all right, let's do it if that's what we have to do. But at that point, it was misery.
I couldn't imagine on top of all the pain and everything and mental like drained of everything leading up to the surgery and then being like, oh, we might
I
have
have to
get
do
a
it
holy
overtime. To
fuck,
think
but-
that, to think like all that, the chemo, the radiation, the surgery, and then wasn't enough, or it's too tough to think about.
Again, I appreciate you sharing all this. And,
Oh, no problem.
It's I know it's definitely still a little touching to you and stuff, so it means a lot for me to go into all this stuff. So I really appreciate that.
So then, I went home. I was off for maybe 6 weeks, and then I went back to work like late June or July.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh, I was at my 6th month. IBM was going to give me 6 months. Like, and after that, I would have had to put in for like long term,
Oh yeah.
and it would have things would have changed. And I was good enough to work. It wasn't like physically I could work. It's just emotionally could I. And at that point, I felt I could. I felt I need to get back to doing something more productive than playing video games or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Watching TV like I used to do. I couldn't talk for about 3 weeks after the surgery. They said that's a common side effect.
Really?
And they at the time they didn't really know why. They said some people it doesn't bother them, other people.
It's just too much stress on their body. or
Yeah,
something
maybe
like that.
they're kind of working in that area, so they're putting pressure on the voice box or something. But I could like whisper, so I got pretty good at like telling my daughters, like you clean or stuff like that. And I did remote support at IBM where you actually have to talk to
people. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen here? But I could, as the weeks went by, I could gradually
Kind of gradually got
get a little bit
back.
raspy, and then I could talk, and then 5 weeks later I was back to normal. People ask what was the toughest thing of the whole ordeal, and I had to do PET scans every 3 months from my surgery on. They said for I think at the time 3 years. And they had already told me that I never asked the doctor like what are my chances, because I don't think anything good would have came from that.
Right. Yeah.
But they told me if we see it again, there's probably not much they can do.
Okay.
So I think the PET scans that happened every 3 months after were the toughest.
Just
'Cause-
not knowing.
Yeah, you go in there, you get, I felt fine. It's not like I started feeling pain or anything again, but, going in the machine, getting scanned, and then you have to wait 2 or 3 hours for the doctor to see you, and then, tell you yay or nay, thumbs up, thumbs down.
This has to be so stressful.
It was, and
for 3 years too. It's not
it ended up being 2.5,
2.5.
because like 2.5 years in, the doctor's like, you know what, I don't think we need to do these anymore. And I was like, all right.
Thank God. Yeah.
Like,
That's a little
Right.
bit
Well, then
stressful.
part of you though is like, well, gee, maybe we should do it one more time just to be sure, because you're kind of in that, you don't want to like, oh, I'm fine, and then find out, well, no, you're not, and then
Yeah.
it's way too late to do anything about it. But yeah, those 3 monthly visits were tough.
I couldn't imagine.
I'd go in, just with this rock, just feeling like this weight, and then once the doctor said I was good, you'd leave, and
But I'm sure.
it felt so good.
And unfortunately, I'm sure that feeling of that relief probably didn't last very long, because once it kind of went away, or you slept on it, you kind of knew like, well, now you go back in another,
As the
another
time would
week.
get closer and closer to the next one, I'd
The
start
weight
to.
start getting heavier and heavier.
Yep.
I'm sure.
Yep. So anyway, I ended up having like 9 PET scans total from like the first diagnosis to the end, and one of them in 2015 was my last PET scan. I think I had one more follow up in 2016. It wasn't a PET scan. It was just how's everything going.
Yeah. Maybe test your blood and stuff to see
Yep.
how everything was.
Yep.
Okay.
So everything's good. I mean, so I guess we can kind of jump into, how that affects. Jiu-jitsu or anything physical.
everyday life. I'm sure.
Right,
Yeah, I'm sure
right.
it affects. So, just real quick here. Let's. You got. Your stomach is now just basically all the way up to your esophagus.
Yep.
Right. And so, is there like acid reflux, or there's stuff that like obviously besides like, because I know when you physically start working their stuff happens, but is there anything that just like from eating certain kind of foods or anything that kind of messes with you, like
Yeah.
really spicy foods or something like that?
I try to stay. I don't really have too much acid reflux. I'll have it heartburn every once in a while, but probably no more than I had it before.
Okay,
everything.
yeah, so it's nothing that affects.
Yeah, I definitely can't eat anywhere close to what I used to be able to eat.
Like the amount of food or the types of food, or
Both.
Okay.
Yep. And it's weird because sometimes it just depends on the time of day or randomness too. Like sometimes I can eat a whole bowl of soup, no problem. Other times I eat 5 bites and I can't eat anymore because I feel, I'll spit it up. I spit up really easy. If I was like,
because there's nothing there to stop it.
Yep. So your stomach, No, I'm not a doctor, but this is how I understood
Yep,
it. Your stomach acts as kind of like a blender. As food goes down, it like is pulsating and pushing, and it slowly pushes food down into your, is it large intestine or small? I can't remember which
one of the two, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like grinding the food up as it's slowly pushing it through.
And so that process sometimes for you, your stomach.
Well,
isn't-
my stomach, I think I don't think it does any of that.
Okay.
I think
so
it's
it
just a
gives that
bag.
bowl.
And it gravity feeds.
Okay.
So when I eat, I gotta like sit up. If I lay down,
You can feel it.
I can
probably.
feel it. It's uncomfortable. Or if I was to go upside down, I'll just fall back on my mouth. But
is that the same thing with drinking? Like if you drink too much,
Yeah.
you kind of feel like that. Feeling.
if I like your cup there, if I was to drink, 4 gulps, I'd spit it right back up, right at
Oh
you.
wow.
I can't. Liquid's probably the worst because I think liquid just sits there.
And then there's
Right.
nothing blocking it from coming
Yeah,
back.
food can kind of like, there's some air and it kind of falls in chunky, but soup or water or soup or liquid just kind of sits there. So I have to like sip slowly.
So is there like a certain type of food that you absolutely cannot eat that you used to eat now, like maybe like a pizza or like something like a certain type of food that just like it just doesn't sit right with you anymore?
I probably can eat anything. I just gotta eat
Make
it
sure you
slow
do it,
in
yeah.
portions. Yeah. And like I said, some days I can eat a piece of pizza and no problems, and then the next day I'll eat that same pizza and 5 bites in, I'm like, oh, I gotta stop and like walk around. Sometimes I'll be at a restaurant with my wife and I'm like, oh, I gotta just get up and go to the bathroom.
Kind of let everything.
Just kind of, if I walk for like 3 minutes, that might be all it takes. So I don't know if that makes the food kind of settle
That's
or
what I was wondering. You have to kind of
slowly
move
goes
itself
down.
down,
Right.
instead of just sitting in that area.
Plus, I think your stomach has insulation because if you drink cold water or warm water, sometimes you can kind of feel it
Go
come
in,
down.
and then it kind of you lose it here.
But I'll feel it in my stomach. So if I eat hot food, like not spicy hot, but actual heat
The
hot,
heat hot, yep.
I get hot. And like, different than what I did before the surgery. I can like feel it like an oven in my stomach until it probably gets down to my body temperature.
So you basically, it's like when you first take that first sip of hot stuff in your mouth, now you get that all the way
Yeah.
down into your body.
Yep.
That same.
Yep.
That
So I
sensitive-
think whatever there must be some kind of insulation. I think that's just cut from my
Or
stomach.
maybe yours is even now stretched out, so it's not so
Yeah,
compact.
it's possible. I don't know. They
It
told
makes
me.
me really want to now. I just want to look at a human body, kind of look at it, like what do we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
That's very intense. So so it kind of affects you a little bit, but you kind of it's kind of like a pattern. You kind of figured out,
Yeah.
the do's and don'ts of what to do, and I'm sure it's gotten easier as the time has gone on. I'm sure at first you're like, oh shit, I can't do anything. Now
Right.
you're like, oh, I can, but I just got to make sure I do it a certain way.
Well, at the time, back then, I was like, who cares? I can't eat anything. I'm alive.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
kinda what I was
definitely,
thinking.
yeah. But I'm sure when you were kind of
Then-
meal planning and stuff,
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know if I want to try that yet.
Right.
Maybe we'll kind of.
Yeah, often my wife and I, when we go out to eat, we'll just get one entree and share it because I can't eat. I don't have any problem with my weight
Yep.
at all. I mean, I just can't eat enough.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna ask you next if this kind of affected any of your weight, but it doesn't seem like it does. It doesn't seem like you lose weight. I mean, you got pretty.
Yeah, I mean, within a year
you're
or
still
two.
strong when you grabbed the hold of me at the gym. Like, god damn it, So
Wow.
there's a.
Yeah, I
There's
went to
that.
the gym, like maybe 6 months after my surgery, I went to the gym for the first time, and I was on the bench, and I think I just had the plates, so it was like 145, the plates in the universal bar, and I did like 2, and I was like, holy crap. Because, before the surgery, I could pump out 20 of those without
Yeah,
too
you're still pretty beefy.
I
guy.
could not believe that I could only get 2. But yeah, I mean, I kept going to the gym, and within a year or two, I was kind of, strength-wise, I still don't think I'm at where I
Where you
was
were,
when
yeah.
I was 220. And part of that might just be age too, right? I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
older.
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of nice. My wife gets mad at me and my daughters because I probably look better now than I ever looked in my life as far as
Like
muscle
physical
tone.
wise,
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I was always solid,
Yeah.
but I had some.
But like you
extra
said, you're
fat.
more like the beefy cake guy, like the,
Yeah, I mean, I had-
jock looking guy.
Right, I had some extra fat around my stomach and my side where I don't really have that now. I mean, it's kind of nice in that way. I can kind of eat. I don't eat a lot, but I can eat what I want, and I'm sure jiu-jitsu was a big part of that too, keeping me
Yeah,
lean.
yeah.
And I still go to the gym at Mayo, and I think lifting weights is a
How often do you lift weights still then? A couple times a week?
usually twice a week.
And then you do jiu-jitsu, what, a couple times a week as well? As
Try
much as
to.
possible,
It's
with
been
work and
less.
everything.
Yeah, I know when I started, it was 2-3 times a week.
Yep, yep.
Probably in the last year, I've averaged 1.5. times.
Kind of half a practice, or
Yeah. And then we can get into that. So I knew this before starting jiu-jitsu because I've had it before where if I did physical work, like on my hands or knees, let's say I was out in the yard raking leaves or just something doing landscaping,
Yep.
I'd start to get pains in actually it would kind of start in my chest, usually like an hour after I did the work, and then it would start to spread and it would go down my left shoulder, and it was a nerve pain.
Okay.
And sometimes it got real bad, like I have to like walk around and constantly move it. I mean, it's still painful, but I can't even sit still. It's so
I'm
bad.
trying to get that emotion of it. Yeah, I know.
They told me I've talked to my surgeon long after the surgery and even my oncologist, and they're like, there's a big nerve that runs between your stomach and heart. I forget the name of it now, but they're like, they either got nicked or maybe it got moved in a certain place, so when there's pressure on it, it gets irritated.
Okay.
They're like, we don't
know exactly what it is.
Yeah, and it's not, we're not gonna, unless it's bothering you that you can't even work at your job, okay, maybe we can do something about it. But if it's, once every 2 weeks because you're doing jiu-jitsu, that's not, it probably doesn't justify spending money and everything.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe it'll get worse in the future.
First,
and I'll need to do
because
something
the way
about
it sounds at first, did you think you were having a heart attack? Like, was there some kind of or did you just
No.
Did you know kind of that was going to be something already when you had the surgery that kind of told you that?
They said anything's possible.
Okay.
The surgery is more common with older people, and that a lot of the older people already have other medical problems.
Yep.
So I think for me, it wasn't like I was the first one at that age to have it, but
Yep.
they didn't really know what to expect, and it all depends on my weight before and how healthy I was, and
There's a lot of factors.
they're touching so much stuff in that surgery. It's kind of like
Could be scar tissue. It could be,
and sometimes it's worse than others. I know when I started, it didn't seem, I'd get it like once every 3 weeks, and now it seems like, and this might have to do with me going 1.5 times a week, it seems to be more
often.
happen.
Now.
I don't know why that is. I change what I eat because I thought, well, maybe there's certain food that's making it happen, or stretching, but some days I come in and I don't have it at all. Other days we'll do warm-ups for 15 minutes. Like we'll work on some guard stuff,
Yep.
and I start to feel it already.
Yeah, I know when we've been partners quite often, and I know that there's times where you get it and I'm like, you're right, okay, just keep going. But I could still tell there's something bothering
Yeah.
you. And I didn't know at first what it was. I just thought maybe you were cramping or something, So
Just a wimp.
well, a lot of guys, I mean, obviously you're a little older as well. So when the first kind of come into the gym, you're not really in the best shape, so you start getting like aches and cramps and stuff in places.
Well,
So I always figure like, okay, he's just an older guy, And then we kind of talked about it one day, and you're like, well, this is kind of why I get that. And I was like, oh shit, like that's an actual, there's an actual reason why it's not just he's not stretching enough or whatever.
Well, it's that plus I'll get other weird feelings. Like just this morning, I woke up and my stomach felt weird.
Kind of like a cramping feel, or just a weird.
Just weird.
Feeling?
Sometimes it feels like there's like a hole there, and and then I'll go a week and I don't have any problem at all, and then all of a sudden one day I've woken up with the pain before. Like maybe I'm sleeping funny, or I've got my arm a certain way, and again 5 years ago I'd start to worry like, oh crap, what is this? Is this something bad, or is this just just another weird pain?
Now
now I just know that's just what I am right now. I'm alive, so things could be worse.
Definitely. And that's always a great way to look at it too. Look at the positive. Everything is, I'm lucky. This is all that I have from the situation.
Right. Top pressure is the worst for me. Like
Guys
if
aren't
you got
happy.
if you got mount on me, I'm up to the point now where I'm almost like, I don't want to say this because everybody will be like, that's how we get that. But if you get on top of me, I might be done.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because it's like, I don't want to like, oh, you're on me, I'm going to tap out. Because that's not fair to you, because that's not...
It's one of those things too where you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're an older guy, you're not trying to be the world champion, you're not trying to be you're doing this because you enjoy it, and so...
Oh, you didn't? I'm going Worlds.
You are going Worlds?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Next
thought
week.
so. I thought so, yeah. But it's one of those things where, if you do have to take a round off or whatever, and I always say this when I teach classes, like, we're going to do 10 rounds or 5 rounds today, like, if you want to take a round off, take a freaking round off. Like, nobody's here to, like, we're not trying to make you be the best of the world, so... especially if you're going with me or, some older guys, you have that feeling.
Yeah.
And we all kind of know, like, okay, you need your break. So I would
Dax
definitely
is
not
old.
feel bad. No, it's not even that you're old. It's
Dax
just
is old
we know
and
the
broken.
situation, you know. And,
Yeah.
so I would never, feel bad. Just be like, hey man, just go with that guy, or whatever.
It's
you know,
been
especially-
tough.
And I'm sure you feel that you're kind of, like you said, you feel like it's not fair to the other person, but at the same time, it's not fair
feel
to you
guilty.
to try to push yourself and hurt yourself and something
Right.
else. So you got to kind of think of yourself first before you do, And again, this is one of those things that you love doing, so you'd hate to push yourself one day because
Right.
you feel bad, get hurt, and never be able to do it
Yeah.
again, or something. So
It's been tough for me to like do that because it'll be like have an odd or even number rolling and it's
Yeah.
like me and somebody else and I'm like I don't think I should go, but then I feel bad because then he or she doesn't get to go.
never do that. And I know as a person, like again, that goes to show how good of a guy you are. Like God, I don't want anybody else to sit out, so I'll kind of go push you to pain. But it's one of those things you got to kind of take yourself in accountability.
Well-
Like, now I need this round off, and figure out, hey, who's the most tired? You just
Yeah.
figure out, all right, if you're that tired, let's take a round off, or let's just do like a flow round where
Right.
you pass my guard, I'll get on top.
I
I'll
do
pass
like
your
flow.
guard, and that's something I'm kind of gonna try to get into a lot of the newer guys is. If we do a lot of these rounds, because the next few weeks in my classes, we're going to be pushing a lot of, because I have my tournament coming up, so we're going to be doing a lot of rounds. So
Okay.
I'm going to kind of pushing guys like, yo, if you're tired, find somebody else that wants to work with you, do either a full round or just you pass 3 times, he does pass 3 times.
Yep.
So the whole round, you're just doing guard passing or
I
whatever
do.
it is. And so you're still working, but you're not, and you can
Right.
take that time off of stress on your body or whatever it is. And a lot of the new guys, I feel like, especially for those days where I try to push really hard and kind of make everybody go, I feel like they get really tired and they're like, I don't know if I want to make it next class.
Right,
So you're like,
right.
well, just take it off. Like, take a round off.
Yeah.
There's no, there's no.
I like flow row a lot.
That's very.
That's it.
There's one guy in the gym that does it very well. It's Jason. He is
Yeah.
like the best at flow roll,
Yeah.
and we roll so perfect. And I mean that counts to him being a 2-stripe or 1-stripe purple belt.
Yeah.
And he's just so. If you ever want a flow roll, I suggest Jason. Because
Yeah.
there's some guys newer guys that they don't really understand what a flow
Right.
roll is. They just think a flow roll is I'm still trying to kill you.
Right.
That's to where Jason, he knows, and he'll give you
Yeah.
a position and let you pass him. But again, don't be afraid to, be like, take a round off or whatever, just.
Well,
because-
The worst
That-
part is it's not like it's that hurts, I'm gonna stop. It's a slow buildup.
and
So there's times where I feel fine. I could roll again. It's not like I got this pain, but I know
after that.
an
round,
hour later I'll be home and all of a sudden it'll get worse and worse and worse. And there's been a few times where I'm up at like 11 o'clock at night,
Just
still
in
walking
pain
around
because
trying
of
to get
that.
the pain because I cannot sleep with it. I mean, it happens once a month or maybe less than that, once every couple weeks or 6 weeks. But so that's tough too because I can't. It's like I feel fine. I can probably roll again, but I know I'm going to pay the
Later
price
now.
later. And do I want
Yeah.
to pay that, or maybe I'll be lucky and I won't get the pain because it just seems so random. And I'm kind of given up trying to figure out, is it something I eat earlier? Is it a
Sounds to
certain
me like it's
movement?
like a pinched nerve or something. Like you just hit it a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
oh damn, because like I have like shoulders that are messed up, and if I tweak them a little bit, like, oh what the hell, But it seems like yours is like maybe a
It's
nerve,
slow.
and then after it being pinched for so long, then that pain actually starts coming out later, which is.
Yeah, it's
And again, I'm not
never
a doctor or anything, but I just
it's never a sharp pain. It's always
Just like a dull
slow,
pain that
slow.
builds.
Yep.
does it ever. So then it just kind of becomes like a really bad aching pain then instead of like a stabbing pain.
Yeah, it feels like it's hard to describe because I think all nerve pain is kind of hard. It feels
Yeah,
like
yeah.
somebody's got that nerve and it's like squeezing it,
Oof.
and it's constant and it's nonstop, and I can feel it slowly. It's like somebody's starting to tighter at its worst, and then they slowly let up, and it can take. I've had it been 3 to 4 hours.
So it's one of those pains too that or one of those feelings that like it doesn't just go away. It slowly dulls as so it slowly comes on and then it
Yeah.
also slowly like goes away.
Yep, it's pretty miserable.
Yeah, that does
I
sound.
fit-
And so definitely, yeah, if you're having trouble in rounds, man, now that I know that, I'm like, Dax, flow roll, go with me, we'll flow roll, just take the round off. So
but
just because, especially because I enjoy having you around the gym so often, and you help so much with the kids and stuff. So I'd hate to see you push a little too hard in one round again and not be able to come back, or and worry
I
about
never-
being permanently
I'm too
damaged.
stupid. 'Cause there'll be
That's the problem.
times.
That's the damn problem right there.
There'll
though.
be times where I'm like, gosh, why do I do this? I'll be driving home like, God, I start to feel the pain.
Yeah.
And Charlie threw me all over the mat, and then like the next morning I'm like, oh, jiu-jitsu on Wednesday, can't wait to come. I just can't stay away.
Yeah. it's
And I
addictive.
really like and that's one thing I wanted to touch on. Playing sports in high school, you had this kind of talked about it a little bit. You had this group. And,
Camaraderie.
yeah. And I had it in the military too, but then when I left the military, I didn't really have that anymore, right? There wasn't like a group of guys.
Yeah, that makes
I mean, I was too busy working and raising kids, and I always kind of longed for that again, in some way. And I lifted weights with some buddies, but that's not the same
It's not the same thing, yeah.
So that was one huge thing with coming to Imperial is having that.
It's like a family. That's what I tell everybody.
That group.
And it's weird because, like you said, like there's a million different things you can do. You get 10 guys to go to the gym. You all go to the gym at the same time, but it's never gonna be that like feeling of it is. And I think I attribute that to because we go through what I like to say is like we get comfortable in uncomfortable situations. We get put in like shitty positions by every guy in the gym, or somebody put or you put somebody in a shitty position and they got to fight out of that, and you're kind of like bonding physically by kind of like putting each other in danger and surviving. And as weird as that seems, is like you're getting comfortable in uncomfortable situations together.
Yep.
And not only like sometimes I put you in an uncomfortable situation, or you do the same thing to me, and then we kind of work our way out of that. And I think that even like I obviously I've never been in the military or anything, but I think that would be the same kind of way of building a bond there too, is because you're going through like high stressful situations. You're kind of going through a lot of physical and mental stress at the same time, but you're going through it together. And so at the end of the day, you're like high five, like holy shit, we got through it finally. Like, can you believe that? That was such a hard route. And so I definitely get that feel of we get closer just because of what we do, and if that makes more sense. It's more, I don't know, like we're surviving here together. We're learning how to survive. So if any of us went anywhere as a group, it'd be like if anybody tries to attack us, I think we're all pretty good. So.
And it kind of strips you of all the BS, and it's just your raw person. Like, who are you really?
Right.
And you the other guys kind of see that, and you see it in yourself, and it's just a connection that on the outside you just don't get, or you don't see it.
And it's a quiet bond too, like because we're rolling and we're not talking. It's not like I said, this is definitely the longest conversation me and you ever had before. And we've been trained together for 2-3 years now. So it's one of those things where we're super close as people, but not like on like the like emotional or level, but more on like the physical. And we've bonded through hard times and through tough situations and through learning and asking each other. That's why I try to explain to people. Everybody's like, "Oh, how do you guys do that?" Or like you said, like you just see two guys rolling around the ground, but it's like you don't really understand the intricacy that's going into this and all the thought and feelings and everything that we're doing, and knowing that the guy on top of you, like, if he gets to a certain spot, I'm fucking dead. Like, if he gets in mount, I'm dead. Certain guys, especially Coach Dan, he gets inside control. Like, you're dead. So you got to fight as hard as you can not to get him there. And then once you get him there, you're like, oh, this sucks. I don't know what to do. And I feel like every one of those bad situations you get into make you a little tougher and make you like, I like this. I don't want to be back in this position. How do I get out of this? How do I stay away from this position? At least for me in jiu-jitsu, it was, I always wanted to be a sprawl brawl. I just wanted to be the guy to just knock people out. But I realized I can't wrestle, so I couldn't sprawl. So I was getting taken down all the time. So then I learned jiu-jitsu, like, oh, these big guys are on top of me, but I can still control them with my body and like kind of figure out where they're gonna go. And so I kind of had to figure out like, well, this sucks on the mount. How the hell do I get out of this? And then it's like, oh, I couldn't get out today, but I bet you tomorrow I can try something new. I can get out. And so it's always like, it's always snowballing into the next idea of, but okay, I got out of mount, but now I'm stuck in side control. How the hell do I get out of that? And then you got to kind of like figure out that, and it's like, it's always something new. And it's great to hear, like, you hear from like black belts like Brock, and like even we went out to train with Professor Lima up in the city, or up in Brainerd, and St. Cloud is where it was, and you can tell that he's even a guy that's like, I'm still learning, I'm still picking up new stuff, and he's like a 5th degree black belt. He's been doing it since he was like, I think 8 or 9 years old or something. So it's crazy that this is something that like you never get to the peak. You're always looking at new stuff and always, which in a way kind of is deterrent. Like, oh fuck, like I'm never gonna know everything. But then you kind of realize like, oh, but I'm gonna be really good at this aspect. Like I'm gonna be really, really good at this, and I could probably be one of the best in the world at this spot. Like I might not be the best Baron Bolo player ever, but I could be the best in side control or something. So it's always and that's at least what drives me, and kind of come back and just like, oh, I know I can do better. Or like when a guy who you think you're better than, you're like, God, that guy should never beat me at that tournament. Or a guy at the gym like showed you're like, I think I'm better than you. I had a rough day. I'm coming back tomorrow to show you that I'm better than that. And that kind of goes to our ego as men too, I think. And women get it as well, but it's one of those things that keeps it addicting. It's just
one little mistake is all it can be, and you're done.
And I learned this with Coach Dan the hard way. Is it's a lot like chess. Like I can move my pawn here, and then 12 moves later, that pawn is going to be my downfall. It's like I did one move 12 moves ago, and that's the one move that killed me. And I didn't even know until that bam, I'm like dead. Like, all right, I gave it my back. I didn't even know I was giving it my back the whole time. Next thing you know, you're dead. And so it's very close to like that human chest, and I love that aspect of knowing that I could have messed up so long ago and not realized it until it's too late.
Right. Yeah, first year, or even now, 3 years into it, it's like knowing when you're in trouble. Because I had no idea. Like, I'd be in a ton of trouble in a role and not even realize it.
Right.
Like, I'm doing fine. No, you're not. So that was a big thing. And I want to go back to, I think I was here a month or two before I rolled with Dan for the first time. And before that, I don't remember who all, but I remember vividly rolling with Dan for the first time. And I could not believe how easily he was doing anything he wanted to me.
Right.
And which was, I mean, two things. It was that, which was like, oh my gosh, I'm like a 3-year-old in this guy's hands. And he wasn't even trying that hard,
Yeah.
you know?
He was at like 1.5,
Right,
maybe.
right, exactly. I'm like, not only is he totally dominating me, but he's not even, I think at one point, maybe a few months later, he was like talking to you or somebody in a full conversation while he was rolling with me about something, it was jiu-jitsu related, but not like, he was like, his mind was somewhere else and he was still folding me like, folding me like I was a pair of pants with no problem. And I'm like, it's, you know, it's like, it's kind of two. At first, you're like, "Geez, am I that horrible?"
Right.
Well, no, he's that good.
He's just that good.
And there's that much to it, and how exciting that somebody. I mean, he is a human, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So,
some days
right?
you wonder. That's ridiculous.
So it's not like, I mean, he has 10 fingers and 10 feet, just like me. I mean, I think we have the same DNA. So this is another human. It's not some kind of superhuman, I think.
Yeah.
But to know that that's
some days.
potential, that's something you could. I
Achieve,
could never
you
be,
could
but
get to.
something somebody
But
could
you
achieve.
could definitely get to, maybe not because again there's physicality and all that, but you could definitely get to a level close to that or to that, you know, where you know as much knowledge. Maybe you won't be able to roll as hard, or
Right.
you know, but you at least know the knowledge of that and learn
Yeah.
that. And
So
following someone like Dan too is really crazy.
That was
Like,
an eye opener.
he's way too smart.
Yeah.
Way too good at this. Like
Right.
that's why some days you're like, is this dude a fucking superhero? Like what is he doing to me?
Right.
Because I rolled for a really, really long time. I rolled for probably 8 years. Did MMA training. Like I rolled with
Oh,
some of
really?
the best
I guess
guys.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I fought MMA for 10 years.
I knew that.
And I rolled for like 8 years MMA style, just basically
Sure.
jiu-jitsu, no-gi. And then I met Coach Dan. And when I met Coach Dan, I remember the same exact thing as first day. I was like, you heard about him. He's
Right.
the guy that won all the local tournaments. You're like, whatever. He's just bigger than another guy, whatever.
Yeah.
I've rolled with guys that are good. Like I rolled with like Tommy Spear. Like these guys at the
Oh,
time
okay.
were supposed to be like the best around.
Yeah.
And so I remember we like touched Dan, you're like, whatever. He's just, and I think at the time he was purple belt, so I was like, whatever. You know, there's
Right.
no real like, at this point, there's no real respect to jiu-jitsu guys. I was like,
Sure.
MMA fighter, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And so, and I remember my coach being like, light years ahead of me.
Yeah.
And being like, you know, whatever, Dan's not going to be anywhere near that. And then going with Dan, and Dan being light years ahead of my coach
Right.
and being like, what the fuck? Like, I remember he did, like, the first time he rolled, he did that thing where you take half guard, roll, and take your back.
Yeah.
And by the time I even had, like, rolled over, he'd already had the choke in, and my back was touching his back, and I was already tapping it. I was
Right.
like,
What's
who
just
the
happening?
fuck is this guy? So then you go after him hard, and he's like, that's what he wants.
Yeah, I know.
Rips you over, next thing you know, your arms behind your back, and you're like, what the hell just happened, Coach
Right.
Dan? And I remember after I rolled with him that day, I remember I asked him, I was like, can I come back and just work jiu-jitsu with you? Like, I just want to work with you.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen him, like, working with all the other the fighters at the time, and I was like, I got my own gym. I want to learn from you and take that back to my own gym. So I was going with him, like, all the time. Just, like, I'd go to his house in Iota and train
really?
with him, yeah. And so we trained in the basement for just 2 hours, just me and him.
Damn.
I've never been more sore in my life after working with
I
because
can imagine.
I remember one day specifically he made us, and he's a drilling machine, especially when he's like training and getting ready
Yeah.
for competitions. He's just a drilling machine. So we did the north-south choke from side control for
Yeah.
5 minutes straight. One person would go for 5 minutes, and the next person would go for 5 minutes. So I went first. Which, okay, cool. I got through my 5 minutes. I was dead tired.
Right.
Then he's gonna go now. Now he's
On
doing,
you?
yeah, on me. And my neck, I couldn't. I was like this for like a month. Like,
Yeah.
He's like, why'd you come back? I was like, dude, my neck still hurts from the north-south choke. It
Right.
sucks. But yeah, but it was, and again, it's one of those guys where you're like, is this guy a superhero? Like, how do you physically and mentally beat me before I even get touch
Right.
your hand? Like, it's so crazy. Then you see guys like Brock and all those two, you're like, there's way more of these fucking guys out here. Like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
But so jiu-jitsu, we kind of in the topic of jiu-jitsu already. So how did you first hear about jiu-jitsu? Like, what was the first like thing that you saw? Like, was it like UFC, or was there just some kind of like gym you saw, like maybe like a quote or something?
Yeah, UFC.
UFC was
Like,
it.
you know, it started, I think USC 1 was like 2000 or 1992.
Yeah, 92, 93.
So like I had
something
just
like that.
I graduated high school in 91, so it, it was, you could rent the tapes because I
Yeah.
don't think I never did the pay-per-view. I don't even know if they had pay-per-view then. It might have
Yeah, I
all been
don't
tapes.
remember.
I can't remember, but we get the tapes, and I just remember the Gracie. It was like this crazy weird grappling thing that was just like dominating.
Yeah,
all these
nobody had
other-
heard it at that point.
Right, and I was thinking, growing up on ninjas and
That's exactly it.
Van Damme's and
Van
Bruce
Damme,
Lee's, I'm
arm
like,
riding,
where's
right?
the sweet kicks, backflip kick and all
It's
this
a sweep
stuff.
the leg, yeah. Like,
And no, this guy would just climb on top of people, and
or he
these
just
big
have them climb on
strong-
top of him. And I'm
Right,
like, okay,
right,
yeah,
right.
you know.
these big strong dudes were just getting beat by. He didn't look that physically imposing, But so that was kind of when I had heard about it. Then all through the '90s, I knew what it was, but I was working and
Right.
kids.
And it wasn't
didn't
as
have-
popular. I think it's really
Yeah.
taken off in the last maybe 5 or 10 years.
Right. We didn't have a lot of extra money for anything
Right.
anyway. We barely had, we had food and stuff. It's not like I had extra time and money to go
Right.
roll around on the floor.
Definitely, definitely.
So then, I got to a point, my youngest two daughters, or my oldest two daughters graduated high school, and it's like, okay, I've got some time to do, something like this, and money's not quite as tight as it used to be. So I looked around, and, a couple different places in Rochester, and Imperial was the closest, and they were really great with responding to my emails and stuff. I think Ting was
Yeah,
awesome.
Ting is very good at that.
So I'm like,
He kills that aspect.
give it a
of
shot, I guess. And then I showed up.
So, were you training here when you first started?
Yeah.
We were already here, right?
Yep.
We were at Snap Fitness. So what do
I
you?
think they had just moved.
We
Like
just
maybe a
moved here.
month or two, because I remember seeing I think on the Facebook page, the Imperial Facebook page, it was like a month before I had Ting and Dan out front saying,
Yeah,
new
Imperial
location.
2.0. Yeah,
Right.
I remember that picture. That was awesome. I remember being so excited because I had moved to Rochester specifically to start teaching at this gym.
Okay.
And because I was driving back and forth from Lake City, I would work in Lake City, get off at 3:30, drive here, teach at 5, and then train after that, and I drove back to Lake City. And I got sick of driving back to town at night.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And so I had switched my schedule. So basically, I'd live in Rochester, drive to Lake City every day, drive back home, teach, and then I'd stay here in Rochester. So it was a little easier because I was starting to fall asleep at night on the drive home, and I knew I wasn't gonna give up teaching, so I had to figure it out. And it was so weird because when we first moved here to this location, I was like, Coach Dan, I want to move here. He's like, what? And I was like, I'm sick of driving here every night. Like, I want to move here. And he was like, okay. And then I remember I said it to him, and there was two guys at the time. I don't know if they were here, but Curtis and Aaron were here at the time,
Yep.
and they were two guys. And I remember just mentioning it to Coach Dan, and then Curtis was like, "You're gonna move here?" And I was like, "I've been thinking about it. I've been kind of looking at places, but I just really can't afford it right now, so it's kind of my goal." And he was like, "Well, me and Aaron are gonna get a place together, and we were looking for a place. So if you want to help us, that'll help us with getting a spot."
Sure.
And so we ended up within a month we moved into each other. And it was it just happened to be a thing in my head I was thinking about for a few weeks, I'm gonna move here. And then the day I said it to him, it was everything started rolling. I was like, coming here. So
Yeah.
luckily I've been here ever since. And but so what do you remember about your first day of jiu-jitsu? Because did you come in and do because Ting, I know for a while, I think he still does this, when you first come in, he does a private lesson, one-on-one. Did he do that with you as well? We're kind of tied the arm bar, rear naked choke, stuff like that.
I think we taught the Kimura from
Kimura,
Side Control or
yeah.
something.
Just some real simple stuff,
Right.
kind of get an idea of what
And
it's
you're
going
like,
to
oh,
be
this
like.
is so awesome.
You could break a guy's arm.
Right. It's it sounds cool. I mean, because you're going through, okay, now you put your knees here and you put your elbow. I'm like, oh, this will be great. And then until you actually roll and try to do it, and you're like, oh, this
isn't
isn't
the
this
same.
easy.
He's not just going to lay there anymore.
Right.
What happened?
Exactly. You realize there's a lot more to it than just knowing the 4 steps.
So,
Actually get the
so you did do the little private class with T. Was it, because I see sometimes he does just by himself, or he'll do it during the class. It was just during class.
Yeah.
I think, and for me personally, I think I would like that better to learn as the class is going, because I'm kind of learning from this is what they're doing, but then I gotta also see an aspect of what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because I know with some private lessons, people come in and like, well, what's jiu-jitsu even about? I'm like, oh, okay, so you don't even know what jiu-jitsu is. So then you gotta show them a little video on your phone, So it's kind of cool when they come in and they actually see what the class looks like, and then learn on top of that. I think that visually helps a lot,
Right.
especially guys were more visual,
Yeah.
so it helps us out. Oh, I get it. Wait, that guy just choked the hell out of that guy. I'm gonna be able to do that one day. All right,
Right.
teach me this thing again.
Yeah.
So
And I don't think you can watch all the videos you want and learn all the someone telling you until you're actually got somebody on top of you that's
they're
putting
trying to physically impose their
your
will on you.
elbow in your neck and you're trying to get out from under them. You don't really know what it is.
Right.
So
So you went and you did that first class. It was during class. So what was that? That was that kind of made you. Did that kind of drive you to be like, oh, I want to do this
Yeah.
even more? Kind of.
Yeah.
So you kind of had an idea you wanted to do something.
I was pretty much sold I was going to do
So
it.
were
It
you?
wasn't like I was.
You were just trying to find the right
I was
place
going
to
to
do
do
it.
Yeah.
Were you? Did you kind of get into jiu-jitsu because you were kind of get bored of like lifting weights and kind of want to get out of that? That wasn't really what.
That was
wasn't
part of
doing
it.
it for you anymore.
Yeah, but I would say a big part of it was like getting sick.
Getting sick.
Yeah, because I think after I lost all that weight, I kind of got, I don't know, I feel like I was just like stripped as what I thought of myself. Because you kind of have this
kind of the
opinion
shell
of yourself.
what you used to
Yeah,
do.
definitely. I was like, oh, I'm a big muscle, and that was, I wasn't right then. That wasn't the correct way of thinking either back
Right,
then.
right.
I had this opinion of myself that wasn't even true. And then, it wasn't true because the cancer showed it wasn't true, because it beat me down so badly that I just felt, like you said, shell of a man. So I went back to lifting weights, but in the back of my mind, I knew
It wasn't the same.
it wasn't the same, and I was still missing something. And then the whole, having like a team,
That camaraderie.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, I felt I'm gonna give this a good try. Like I'm not gonna just do a month. I'm gonna give it a good hard year or two, see how I like it, and then I can reassess. But
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna just put my foot in the water. I need to do this.
Yeah, because you see a lot of people come in and they kind of do that private class. I'm like, I don't think this is really for me.
Yeah.
But you already had a mindset. You're like, I don't care what this
Yeah.
first private lesson's like. Let me get in class.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and I thought it was cool.
That's a
It's
test too to
cool
your
stuff.
grind. You're like you said, like I have a goal. I'm gonna do this for at least a year, 2 years, whatever. Just I'm gonna not go for a week and be like, nah, it's not for me. I'm actually give it a try. Which
Well,
I think a lot of people would do that, where they're like, I'm so tired and
Right.
sore after a week. Like, yeah, but get your body in shape and then kind of push
Yeah.
and get used to what it's like. Because it's always everything's gonna be hard at first. Yeah.
Right. And I was gonna say, shoot, lost my train of thought. I always see like some older guy come in. And I'm like, all right, another older guy, and then like 2 weeks later they don't show up anymore. And you're like, oh shoot.
That's why it's good we have Joe, the new guy. Joe,
Yeah.
you roll with him yet?
Yeah.
He's very good too,
Yep,
and
yep.
he's an older guy. He's got to be right around your age, maybe a
Yeah,
little
probably. I
older,
don't know.
so.
Probably close. Yeah.
And I just see the little gray coming up, so I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know how old this guy is. And it sucks because the first day I was kind of being nice to him, and he kind of kicked my butt a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh shit, this guy's got really good technique. So next
Yeah.
time I rolled him, I was like, nope, I'm gonna stay
Right.
tight. It's kind of like I roll with you now. I'm like, God, I cannot get him. I can't sweep him. I can't pass. Like it's hard. But you're getting that foundation, 3 years later, here you are, blue belt, kicking
Yeah.
butt.
Trying.
So you had the first. We'll kind of get this podcast goes crazy
that's
everywhere,
fine.
so it's awesome. And it shows my ADHD. I kind of just bounce around.
Right.
But, so you did your first little private class, but then what was your actual first class like? Do you remember like actually showing up and like did you have a gi at first, or did you show up with no
No.
gi?
I think I didn't have a gi till maybe a month
A
in.
month in.
I got
So you were
work
kind of doing
online.
classes. Yeah, because at first we kind of but you had that nice thick one, right?
Yeah,
That's what you got
I had like a
first.
Fuji for the first year or so. Then I got the
The
Imperial,
Imperial
ones
ones.
after that.
Yeah, because I thought you had a different gi for a long time.
Yeah, it was one of those Fuji.
Those are pretty nice, though.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know any different. I just
Yeah.
went online and was like, oh, that looks like a nice one.
Yeah,
I'll
they're
buy
not
it.
too, they're not too expensive either. Those Fuji
No.
ones those are the same one I started.
I think it
with
was less
Fuji.
than 100, the one I bought. And I would debate it, do I like gi better or no gi?
Right.
And I still, right now I've only been training gi for probably the last 6 to 8 months. I only go on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yep.
I mean,
Which,
part of that
thank
is
you
because
very
my
much
daughter
about that.
goes.
Yeah,
What's that?
that's thank you about that very much.
Oh,
That that help in the class with you and Jay is it's amazing,
Well,
especially because some of
it's
the
fun.
classes
I like
is
doing
huge. Yeah, you seem like you kind of fit right into that. So
I coached girls basketball, like my daughter's
Oh, really?
basketball and stuff growing up. And I think when I was in Air Force, I coached baseball, like a little league baseball team. So I did soccer, even though I don't know anything about soccer. I coached soccer for my daughters when they were younger. So
that's awesome. So
it's
you
not
really
like-
got that coaching.
yeah, I mean,
aspect.
I've always dealt with the coaching.
See, I didn't even
thing.
know you did that. I just
Yeah.
honestly, I kind of just when we talk or I kind of see in classic, I kind of thought that kind of came from like the military, kind of being like, yep, do this next, we're doing this, because I know like
It's probably-
when we do like we're like shuffle the inside, you do it right
Right.
after me, just to make sure that end of the class here,
Yeah.
which helps so much because there's some kids that are just like,
Right, they don't pay attention. Or they don't really know
and
what
they
you
hear
mean.
both of us like, oh yeah, okay, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
So we have
They don't
some
know what
that little
shuffle
ADHD.
means.
Yeah. That's the worst too. You tell new kids like shuffle, and like it's like just copy that kid. It's okay. I'll show you what a shuffle is, but just copy.
I remember playing that game, like, was it Planes, Trains,
Oh yeah.
Automobiles, and Boats?
Yeah.
And I remember Dan was like, automobiles. And the kids were like,
What the hell
I
is
don't
an
think they
automobile?
don't know what an automobile is. I
It's
go,
like, it's a
car.
car.
They're like, oh, car, yeah. So it's funny, you tell kids something and they don't even know what that word means.
Right.
So you're like, why don't you do it? Well, they don't even know what you're talking about. But yeah, I don't, working with kids is, I like it, enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's been an amazing experience for myself as well. And when I first did it, like, when I had my own gym, I taught kids, but it was just a few, like 3 or 4 kids at a time. You know, it wasn't anything real, like nothing official, close to like this. You know, so when I teach these kids, I felt like I'd be kind of out of my element. Like maybe I wouldn't be as patient, you know, but for some reason I don't know why. And I think the big thing is I'm still a giant kid at heart. Like I still feel like I'm a kid. And again, growing up, I had ADHD. I was crazy. I was a fucking lunatic kid. Like, I feel so bad for my mother. I ripped her curtains off. Like, I've done so many horrible things. Like, my grandma, this is just a horrible story, but I remember she had a bathtub and they used to have like roses on the bottom for like grip. Yeah. And I remember I like took all of the gripping off of her like tub and just stuffed it down the drain. So I clogged her drain. She had a like fucking snake. And just a dumb little kid, but I was just crazy. So now I see these kids in class doing like these crazy shit, bouncing off the walls, throwing their cards, and like choking other kids. And I'm like, I can't get mad at this kid because that's me. Right. And so I feel like now like life's like karma. Like no, you gotta deal with these freaking kids because this was you. You put all the stress on all these other people. Now you gotta deal with it. So I see some of like the parents or something like, you know, there's other coaches too that some days like kind of come in and help and kind of get a little more frustrated. But like, I don't know what to do with these kids, but me, I'm like, no, I was that kid. I don't think you just let him burn his energy out for a second and then pull rope right back in. So I'm very lucky that I was at that point of a kid and I kind of can empathize with these kids too. So, because there's some kids, you know, or some guys that are like, I was quiet. Like I was never like that kid. Like holy shit. Like I remember staying away from those kids. And like, no, I was that kid. Like, I remember exactly what that's like. Exactly what he's going through. Like I remember my brain being a million different places at one time. And then somebody telling me to do something, you're like, fuck that. I'm doing this. I'm gonna jump off the wall. Right. Like we have one kid who likes to do ninja flips off the wall. Yeah. I'm like, please stop doing that. I get it. I was that kid, but just don't do it. So at some point, I think we're gonna get you to teach your own class here. That's kind of the works of it we get. Which is awesome, and I'll definitely be there to help you on those days as well. So just like you're helping me, and I've been kind of pushing towards you getting that because I know we're going to try to do another kids class at some point again. Chinese goes with everything, but those classes are getting so big right now, so it's going to be a matter of time before we have to start splitting this up. So
there's been
I definitely
a couple classes where we have like 25 kids or more.
And you're like, all right, we're going to do.
It's hard to do anything.
We're gonna do. You guys should start wrestling for your back. Just pick up a spot in the mat and don't run into each other. Like the other day, I remember we had it was Friday's class. We had a bunch of competition kids. It was not this Friday, but the last Friday, and there was kids going together, and we had like good 3-4 feet between two kids, and I remember like turned away, turned back, and one kid had flipped another kid over and kicked the girl in the head, and I was like, oh, like you guys were just so far apart. What happened? I spun out, but it's just there's too many kids, just so close and. It's one of those things where like the kids understood, you know, the girl that got hit, like it hurt, but she was like, I mean, I've kicked people too, so it's just one of those things where we gotta figure out how to split all these kids.
I got a couple feet in the face when I was
we get those too. And I don't know if you know this, but now that you're a blue belt, you get to tell all the white belts to get the hell away from you. If you're a higher rank, there's like, and we at this gym we don't really like. We kind of let Minnesota nice feel. We're all just I will both kind of scoot away from each other, but. In traditional jiu-jitsu gyms, as far as I've kind of been, is if you're a blue belt and there's 2 white belts rolling with you, or you're a blue belt and a white belt, you're higher ranked than those 2 white belts, so they should have to move to a different spot of the mat and not stop your roll. And so it's kind of like if you're a blue belt, you have to do it to purple, brown, you know. Okay. So you kind of accommodate to the higher ranking and kind of more of a respect issue, which we don't really push a lot in this gym, you know, because we're all kind of respectful. We're all a lot of blue belts, a lot of white belts, you know, so we don't really have that as much. But again, if there's 2 guys that keep kicking you, like, hey, I'm a freaking blue belt, scoot over there, like get going. Yeah, and that's kind of we do like the order with our belts and stuff when we line up and stuff like that. But again, we kind of accommodate to everybody being new and not really knowing that.
Right. So
I
don't want any. There's some white belts that. I don't want to make anyone mad and pay you back when you're old, so I try to be nice to everybody.
Just if somebody has rolling on you, they don't get it, just like, hey guys, like scoot the hell over there. Because some guys, you know, especially 2 white belts, they just start grinding and they don't even realize they're kicking each other or kicking somebody else. You're like, hey, calm the fuck down, scoot over. So what is your favorite aspect about jiu-jitsu? Like what is the thing that sets this aside from everything else? Would it be the camaraderie and
I would say
just
that.
being so close to everybody?
Yep.
And like last night we were out here, you know, it was what 5 or 6 of us just watching fights, just standing in the gym, not even just standing there bullshitting, just watching fights, which is awesome. And I don't get that with any of my other friends. You
Yeah.
know, like none of my other friends are really into the same kind of stuff I am. And my whole life I've really been into this, so I kind of like congregate to this a lot more than I do my other friends. So like a lot of times I'll just be at home playing video games, or I'll be at the gym. You know, my friend's like, "Well, what are you doing?" I'm playing video games. Like, come hang out. Like, I gotta be at the gym in a few hours. Like, I don't want to go out and waste
The
time.
next
and
step
get
is
in
play
the gym.
video games at the gym.
Yeah,
And you got everything you need.
Could you imagine that when I start doing virtual reality jiu-jitsu?
Right. Yeah,
That'd be sweet. I'm gonna make that up.
You have the robot.
Don't steal my idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully the internet doesn't steal that idea. That'd be a great idea.
Have to edit that part out.
Yeah, well, we'll figure that out. Trademark it before this comes out.
Right.
So you helped me teach, and we kind of got into that topic about how you kind of helped me in, two Monday, Wednesdays we teach, and your daughter actually is in jiu-jitsu now, your
Yep.
youngest daughter.
Yeah.
What do your two oldest daughters think of jiu-jitsu? Do they even know about it, or because are they both out of the house now?
Yeah,
Or
they're both out of the house.
So it's not really something that.
My middle one's in college, so she's still back sometimes.
Okay.
Taylor's out of college and done. I don't know. It's kind of like that's what Dad does.
Yeah, it's just kind of your hobby.
Yeah, right.
Have you ever thought about trying to get them or your wife into doing it, or teach them a little bit?
I brought it up a few
Yeah,
times, but it's kind of like, that's what you
That's
do.
how my whole family is
Right.
too. And it's like, I don't want to teach you because I want you to be jiu-jitsu. I just want you to know a little bit. Like, I
Yeah.
just want you to be able to defend yourself a little bit. And
Right.
I think they think that like, you just want to be jiu-jitsu. Just go to jiu-jitsu every night. No, I want you to learn for like a year. And
Yeah,
after
it
that, do
doesn't
whatever the
have
hell
to
you
be.
want.
Exactly. Just like even 6 months, just a little something to.
And that's what I was going to ask about Ava. Is that why you kind of got her into this? Is just self-defense. She's a young girl,
Yeah.
and it's good to know. Even if God forbid, you don't ever have to use it, but even if
Right.
that one chance, for that one time you do
Yep.
have to use it, you'll have that.
Yeah, I
in the
think
back of your, the back
that
of
was
your
part
head,
of
you'll
it.
use
She's, trying to. She's very. She's kind of quiet,
Yep.
and I think this has helped her kind of.
Yeah, she's
open up a
definitely
little bit,
introverted.
and I think having some basic skills, because I would think 95% of the time if something bad happened at some point, if you can just delay that person or slow them down or just have them realize that you're not easy,
Exactly. Yep.
that might be
Yeah,
enough.
right.
That's probably going to be enough for them to disengage and just
Yep.
go. Even if it's just 30 seconds of something,
Yep.
that might be all it takes. Because most people, if they're trying to do whatever, if there's a fight back, that they're like, whoa, what is this? They're gonna just,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
not gonna
most people
continue
are
on.
they're like, if I tell someone to give me my money, they're gonna give it. And I don't think, and I've never been a robber or thought of robbing anybody, but I couldn't imagine that they think like, this person's never gonna fight back. Like
Right.
you'd assume at some point if you're gonna rob somebody, they're gonna like fight back or
Yeah.
something. So like, I would assume that once somebody does fight back, their plan is like, oh, it's not worth it. Like I
Yeah.
want to find somebody easier. At
Right.
least you would hope, that, because you see it a lot of times too. And I get really deep into YouTube a lot, and I
Mhm.
watch like a lot of like self-defense videos and stuff. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube where they show like the do's and don'ts of stuff, and like somebody will like rob a store and they'll show like this is what you should have done, this is what they shouldn't have done. And so I get a lot deep into that, and so that kind of makes me think of like every time I go somewhere, like I'm so glad I know jiu-jitsu because if anything were to happen, like I've seen all these videos, I hear about all this crazy stuff, anything ever happened, like 98% of the time, I feel like I could get myself out of any situation because of what I know of jiu-jitsu. And it's not like I'm gonna like try to attack somebody or kill somebody. It's like I'm gonna avoid the situation as much as
Yeah.
possible. I'm gonna do what it takes to get away from that situation.
Yep.
And so I feel like I try to tell, like I taught my brother-in-law growing up, like my brother-in-law knows like basically he's like I would say he's like 4-stripe white belt from all the stuff I've taught him, just kind of over the years. But I taught him that just because if anybody breaks in the house or anything like that, slowly like over time we didn't really realize we were teaching each other self-defense. But
Sure.
now I feel so much confidence with him. Let's just go to the bar, I go out to dinner or anything like that.
Yeah.
I definitely feel confident that he can handle himself just because he knows that much of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And he knows like I taught him a little bit of boxing and stuff as well. And there's a lot of situations in self-defense. I kind of was stubborn to learn this. Is if there's more than one attacker,
Yeah.
a lot of times your best option is not to grapple. It's
Right.
to punch somebody and kind of get out of that situation.
For
So
sure.
we've kind of, and me and him kind of had a debate about this for a long time. I was like, no, I'm just gonna take somebody down, dude, and choke him out. And he's like, well, what if his friend jumps in? I'm like, well, then I'm getting kicked in my head apparently.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a good point. Now we gotta
Right.
kind of reassess the situation,
Yeah.
and then you gotta kind of come about every situation a little different, which I think jiu-jitsu helps you so much because
Yeah.
there's more than one attacker, you know what to do. There's one attacker, you're like, it's me and this guy, get a hold of him. 95% of the time I'm gonna out wrestle this guy, or I'm gonna do some kind of submission that he doesn't
Right.
know idea what the hell is going on.
Yep.
And so I try to get the little kids to understand that too. Is like every now and then I kind of like, remember, this is for self-defense as well. If somebody attacks you, you get yourself in a situation you can't get out of, like,
Yep.
this is where you use this, this is where this is best for. And so I try to get, like, this summer I'm going to go down and my sister just actually bought a trailer and they've got all my old wrestling mats and all my stuff from my gym. And so we're going to go down I'm going to buy them geese, and we're going to go down this summer, and for 3 months I'm going to teach them watch jiu-jitsu. Like every weekend I'm going to try to teach them a little bit of jiu-jitsu, yeah. So all the kids will get it. And, like I said, 3 out of the 4 of her kids have cystic fibrosis, so that's going to help them a little bit too with the exercise and kind of getting the junk out of their lungs and stuff. So that's kind of my goal, is to kind of help them and teach them a little bit. So I was kind of interested in seeing why you brought Ava in, and if she was kind of interested in it, or if you, as you kind of tell time, she kind of didn't really want to do it, I know, but I think she enjoys it now a little bit more than she did before.
Yeah.
I just still think she's still at that age where she still has days where she's like, I don't really want to do this today.
Yeah.
But there's days where she comes in and she tries really hard.
Right.
I think her and Megan and some of those girls have kind of got pretty close. So when they go together, they kind of have fun. And
Right.
it's good to see that we have other little girls in the class that she can kind of get along with and kind of have common ground with. Instead of just like the boys. Like I feel bad for Edie where she goes to like the competition class where it's just all boys, but she's kicking the crap out of all those boys. So she's pretty good, But I couldn't imagine Ava trying to go to an all guys class, like that, where it's kind of rough. So we have a really good group for those types of kids that are kind of a little more shy, and like a lot of the girls that we have in our class are super shy, but when they get together, they're like chatty Cathy's. It's like, hey, ladies, like, we're doing jiu-jitsu today. Like, you can talk, but let's get this through.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to see that Ava's coming, and she's, because what is she, 10?
She's 10.
And your next is 20, right? So
Yeah,
there's a 10-year gap between there.
Yep, she's basically an only child.
Yeah, so that's a real big difference for her.
And it's nice for her and I to kind of have that something in common.
Yeah, you guys
we
get
both
a
do,
little,
which is cool.
little bonding time.
I try to grab her at home, and she usually doesn't want to.
She doesn't. I see that at the gym too. You're like, come here, and she's like, Dad, leave me the hell alone. You're embarrassing me. My friends are over here. Like, the jiu-jitsu, let me choke you.
Yeah.
She's so fun too, and I try to encourage her as much as possible. Just keep going, get out of your shell. And
anything that gets her. I mean, she plays volleyball too. She was in basketball last year, but she's not doing that now. But anything to get her away from the screen too is good.
Is she like us?
Yeah,
Where
like all
she's
kids. She loves
video games all.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's so crazy how kids like YouTube, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And
you got to have a wide range. I mean, jiu-jitsu is completely different than volleyball. Volleyball is completely different than jiu-jitsu, and you should have a wide range of different things, of activities you're involved with, which I think again builds good character. And I mean, now's the time to do it for her, right?
Definitely.
I mean, if you're not going to do it now, it's tougher to do it.
she's still a sponge, everything she's absorbing. So if she does this for another 6 months, another 8 months, or whatever, and doesn't want to do anymore, she's still gonna have those life skills.
Exactly.
Like we were saying, 6 months to a year is all you really need is jiu-jitsu. I don't want everybody to be the world champion.
Right.
But I want everybody to know a little bit to defend themselves. Just because, unfortunately it does happen to people where they get robbed or they get mugged, or somebody tries to, kidnap them or whatever it is. And so I think that, jiu-jitsu is probably the best. Jiu-jitsu mixed in with a little bit of traditional boxing, just kind of knowing how to throw a good punch and, being able to get out of there. If somebody grabs you, how to break their grips, there's just, it's a very, very, it's kind of like a superpower in a way. Like I kind of think about it as like I said, like when I go to a bar or somewhere where I feel like something's going to happen, like 95% of the time, I'm like, I'm good.
Right.
Like I know either how to avoid the situation or how to deal with the situation physically to kind of take control of it.
Yep.
And so I think that if a lot more people got confident with that, there'd be a lot less robbery, a lot less bullying, a lot less of this bullshit. Because especially if you got a lot of kids that are doing the bullying in jiu-jitsu and they get their ass kicked by the little 8-year-old girl, they're 12, and it's like, who the hell is this kid? It's like, well, she knows jiu-jitsu, man. Don't mess with everybody. You never know what anybody's going to know.
You can't tell by looking at
them. And at a young age, kids don't really get that or really know that. But if they have that confidence in them of being like, if somebody does attack me, I know what to do. Yeah. And I think that shows with a lot of the kids in our classes that you can see when they first come in, they're kind of quiet, and they start learning jiu-jitsu, like, oh shit, I can do this, So I feel like, and I don't see a lot of the kids outside of school. I just see the few that we really do competition stuff with, but I can see it change them and kind of be more confident and just more willing to be outgoing and kind of put themselves out there a little bit more because they know what it's like to fail and not, And jiu-jitsu is a lot of trial and error. You're gonna fail a lot, you're gonna get choked a lot, you're gonna miss sweeps, you're gonna get swept a lot, Yeah, it's like probably, 1 out of 6 times you're like, oh, I got that sweep, that's awesome. But the other 5 times you're like, holy shit, that sucked. But that was garbage. And I'm sure even at the highest level, there's still guys that are still doing that, And so it's
and it takes a lot to, I think, even as a kid to come here and let's say you get kind of whipped up on in a roll, you go against someone tough, and then to show up 2 days later.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
That's for anybody too, even adults.
Yeah,
I see a lot of
adults the
adults
same way.
who get that and they're like, I don't know if I'm gonna come back.
Right.
You know, but it's a give and take, you know, and this obviously this isn't for everybody, but again, I think it is for everybody in the aspect of everybody can learn something from this, but they don't have to make this their life goal
Yeah.
to be like myself, like my goal is to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu and do this as long as I physically possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't want everybody to do that or that be their goal, but I would definitely like, you know, the massive majority of people to at least put 6 months, a year into this and learn actual life
Some
skill.
basic stuff.
And
Just to, it was like, just to know what it feels like for someone to get on top of you.
exactly, and
I don't think that people realize that. I didn't know it either. Like, I can throw that guy off.
exactly
Until
yeah,
they actually get
press,
on you and
no.
you're like, wait a minute, this isn't as easy as I thought it was.
No.
And just knowing that can help you. Because
Yeah.
you know, like, if you get in a bad situation at wherever on the street or on a bar and you know, this guy's pretty big, if he gets on top of me, I'm
I'm in
done.
trouble.
So,
You gotta avoid
just to
that.
disengage, like, I'm just gonna leave.
Yep. And there's, I mean, I see videos all the time. I'm sure if you see them on your Facebook, they're all over. Where like a tiny 5'4" guy will get into it with like a 6'8" bouncer, and it's like, what the hell were you
Yeah.
even thinking? Like, but again, that guy has never had anybody physically dominate him or
Right.
be on top of him or show him what it's really like to
Right.
be physically dominated by somebody else like that. And again, another guy 5'4" could do the same exact thing as a guy 6'8" could
Could,
in New
for
Jiu-Jitsu.
sure.
You know, and so it's that aspect of just like some people, and Joe Rogan talks about this a lot too, is like you see 90% of the fights on the streets or on YouTube or anything like that, like if both people have no fucking idea what they're doing, but they're so confident to get into a
Right.
fight and they're so
Exactly.
excited to get into a fight, but then once they get in the fight, they're like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's like, then why
It's
are you so
very
excited
obvious.
to get there if you
Yeah.
don't know what the hell to do it?
Right.
It's like
People-
diving off the diving board. I'm gonna dive off the diving board, but I don't know how to fucking swim. It's
Right.
like, well, you're gonna sink to the bottom,
Yeah.
guy. Like that's what's gonna happen. Someone's gonna have to come save you. And it's the same exact thing in like a fight. It's like if you don't know how to swim, you're gonna sink. You know?
Yeah, it's
don't jump off
funny.
the diving board.
I don't think people. I mean, of course, I've never fought professionally or like you or anything, but I think having at least doing jiu-jitsu, you kind of get an understanding of what it would be like, sort of, kind of. But I think a lot of people, they have this idea of themselves or what fighting is that's totally not correct at
And it's
all.
totally blown out of proportion. And like you said, like you think, I'll get this guy off me easy. Dude, I can bench press 400 pounds, bro. That guy ain't gonna hold me down. You get a 125-pound guy
That's
who knows how to
exactly
work
right.
eye control, and you're like,
Yes.
I can bench press
rolled-
double this guy.
Yeah, like you. I mean, I've rolled guys. You said you're like 160.
Yeah, 160. 150.
You feel way heavier than like a newer guy that's maybe 210. Like
Yeah.
I have a 220-pound guy on me who's newer,
Yep.
and they feel lighter than you or someone even lighter.
Right.
Why? Because you guys know
It's that pressure.
where to
it's
the pressure. You know where to put the.
It's
put
that
the
technique,
weight.
and that's why
It's,
that's why I try to just get in anybody's head. Like, dude, just try jiu-jitsu. Just try it. And like I have a roommate right now, and she's like 120 pounds, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna start learning jiu-jitsu. Like if we live together, you learn jiu-jitsu. Like if
Yeah.
something breaks in the
Yeah,
house, we
too.
both gotta choke somebody out. Like you're
There
gonna
might
learn.
be two of them. So
Yeah, I was like,
each
you
of us.
gotta get one of them. You gotta
Right.
get the smaller one, please. So I try to get everybody as much as possible. Just at least look at it, at least
Yeah.
learn a little bit, at least come to class once, twice, you know. And I feel like if anybody comes to class, at least gives it a shot once or twice, they're like, oh, I kind of do like this. And I know, like, especially with a roommate and a lot of other people, I'm sure Ava maybe even has this, is they're not used to like being physically close to somebody, and
Yeah.
that kind of throws them off, kind of get claustrophobic. And
Right.
like, I don't want anybody on top of me smothering me. I get really
I
uncomfortable.
get like that.
And I know that I see. Like,
3 years in, and I hate it when someone's on
when,
top.
especially when you're getting out, like I get it with Jay and I'm getting out of breath. And I've been doing this 15 years now.
Yeah.
I get out of breath, or Coach Dan gets on top of me, and you just like everything out of you. You're just
Feel
like,
like
oh my
you're
god, oh my god,
drowning.
I don't want to get out of here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And you're
Right.
freaking out. Next thing you know, you're choking. You're like, I'm kind of glad you choked me.
Right,
Thank
right.
God. I was so like I was just panicking.
You're like, shoot, I got choked. Dang it. I guess you're not on top of me anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that, like, I talked to my roommate a lot about this, and she's 22. So my brother-in-law's little sister, so I've known her for a really long time. But I always talk to her like, you should do jiu-jitsu, and that's the number one thing. And she's like, I don't like that being next to somebody that uncomfortable claustrophobic feeling.
Sure.
And I totally 100% understand that. But I try to just beat in your head like, yeah, that shit goes away. Once somebody's on top of you and they're trying to choke you, you forget all about how close, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the fuck out of here, or I'm gonna do what I learned to get away from this, and
Right.
I'm gonna get on top. And so it kind of changes your goals of being like in a panic, of being like, okay, it sucks to be down here, so I'm gonna panic to get on top.
Yep.
And it kind of changes your aspect of what your goals would be, instead of just being in just like a fear, panic, oh my god, they're on top of me. You're like,
Right.
if I get them off of me and I get on top, I don't have to worry about this pressure anymore, So it kind of gives you like an aspect or a goal of self-defense to kind of get away from that. And so I kind of try to explain it to that. And so
I think
hopefully we'll
every-
get into the gym.
I guess I'm thinking this from a male side. Every person should at one point know what it feels like for someone to like, someone who kind of knows what they're doing to be on top of them and putting pressure on.
That physical dominance of someone.
Once you realize that, you kind of, first of all, you realize you're not who you thought you were.
Right, yeah, you're not invincible.
It's not like the movies where you can do some spinning back kick and flip them off, but at least you can appreciate, okay, this is a lot tougher than I thought, and this is way more stressful and claustrophobic than I even realized. I never thought, coming into jiu-jitsu, I never thought that claustrophobic feeling you get, like you're drowning. I didn't even think that was I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you just wrestle on the ground, right? And then the first time I had it, I'm like, oh, this is really scary. Like, you feel like you're I tell people you're like in a wet dryer because you got your gi on. And,
yeah, it's like a
and
blanket.
it's hot, and you're trying to get a breath, and the person's like right on you, and you're trying to get your face out so you can get one nice. Then someone will open the door to the gym, like cold air will come in. It'll be like the greatest feeling ever for like 3 seconds.
That
really
rejuvenates you. Like,
yeah, and that's.
The summers get hot, man. Ugh, those are some of the brutal times I eat in the summer. Well, I love it, man. I don't know. I've been one of those guys that over the years I just kind of I like to be in the fire. You know, I like that intensity, and I like the uncomfortableness of being comfortable in an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
And Coach Dan is. I've never been more uncomfortable in my life than rolling with that guy. It's not even like a physical uncomfortable, it's just like a mental of just knowing like every little move I'm gonna make is like a mistake.
It's the
like,
wrong
oh
one.
shit. Like,
Right.
And it comes back to that thing, like I moved my pawn here, but I knew I shouldn't have moved my pawn, but I had to do something,
Yeah.
like, and then 12 moves later I'm like,
Right.
okay, I know where I messed up, but how did I get this far back? And it's like, now how do I
Especially-
retract my steps, and you can never can.
Right. And, like, going against a lot of you guys, like, I'll get an arm in a certain position, and I'm like, I think that's safe. And then we'll start going like, okay, I need to get that arm out of there because I know it's starting to be unsafe, and like you're kind of picking out or whoever I'm rolling with. And then before you know it, okay, now I can't get my arm out, and now you're done.
Yeah, that sucks.
So yeah, knowing when you're in trouble, when you're not, I think is, for me, it was the biggest thing because I just had no clue.
And
like, oh yeah, I can stick my head and my arm in here. There's no problem, is it?
Your triangle.
That's like the worst thing possible. And yeah, you just don't realize it until you've done it multiple times.
And I think that translates into life as well, and just being in social gatherings of knowing like this kind of feels a little uncomfortable, like something's not right here, you kind of get that feeling of like maybe I should get out of here, or like this is kind of escalating to where I don't want it to be. Maybe I should start diffusing the situation now by either backing out of it or like talking away, whatever it is, But I feel like you kind of get a sense of like, oh, shit's gonna kind of like stuff's kind of popping off now. People are kind of getting a little more irate than they should be, or they're kind of getting a little more. And I've had it too, where I've had to like kind of talk myself out of situations, which I'm really horrible at because I'm always that guy like, I'm a fighter, let's fight, let's do that. But then like as I'm getting older, I'm like, I don't need to do that. It's like I try to avoid, like, I don't drink anymore. I try to avoid the bars. I try to avoid any of those situations just because I know I'm a guy who has an ego, and I know 95% of the time if I go against somebody and they're gonna try to attack me, I'm like, let's just egg them on a little bit because I kind of want to see where this goes, And I try, and I know that's a horrible feeling or like a horrible thing to say or do, but deep down inside, I know that's who I am, and I'm still, like I said, it's still that kid at heart where I'm like, I want to test this guy.
Right.
Let's see what this guy really has.
Right.
But so I try to avoid those situations as much as possible, so I don't antagonize myself, because I'm very good at talking myself into situations. Like,
I can see that.
nah, I bet you can take him. Like, he's like 6'8". Nah, what? He don't know how to heel hook, does
Right.
he? Like, nah, I bet you can't defend a heel hook. So then you're like hyping yourself up, and so I just try to avoid that whole situation.
Until he wrestled that. Whatever.
Yeah, he was an NCAA champ. You never knew. Like, I thought he had a little cauliflower ear, but I didn't know until he dumped me on my head.
Right. Because it's hard. You don't know.
You don't
really.
never know.
You really don't know.
Yeah, I try to avoid that.
Guy doesn't know anything, or he might know a lot.
Everything, yeah. Some green beret you never met
Right.
before. So, he's stabbing you. Where you got a knife? Where do you have a knife?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Right. Knife or gun, all bets are off at that point.
And that's right. And especially nowadays,
Or you
even
see
in
his
bigger towns and
buddy creeping up behind you or anything like that. So
that's why I try to avoid that as much as possible. So do you think jiu-jitsu has changed your life for the best though? Do you think it's made, especially after being sick and stuff, and you kind of felt like you didn't really have anywhere to go? I feel like it's probably the reason why you still keep coming, is that camaraderie and that.
yeah.
I mean, if you didn't have that feeling, you probably wouldn't come and put your body through all this stress if you didn't have that.
Probably not. I don't think I realized it when I started either. I didn't realize how important that was to me, and that I was even going to get that from coming here.
Yeah.
So when it happened, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And it's kind of my own thing, right? It's like, it's totally different than anything else I do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I play video games. I got friends. We go out to eat every once in a while. I got my work. I got my family. But this is kind of my own thing on the side that no one really even knows. knows what it is. Like I tell him, like I tell my dad what it. I think he came to. We were training on a Saturday once a few years ago. I think he might have been there. I forget.
Oh yeah, he came in.
But he came in and he doesn't have any idea. So he's just, he's just looking at
guys
it.
rolling around on the ground.
Right. I mean, he's old school Marine. He's just like, oh, he's punch him in the face. I'm like, well, okay, but that's not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to make this point before, but people think, I played football in high school. I'm just thinking people in general. Or I played basketball, and it's like, okay, I practiced football. I played multiple games, but fighting, jiu-jitsu, for some reason, people think you're just kind of born, and yeah, there's definitely people that are born with more skill in that than others, for sure. Definitely. But it's kind of like fighting, UFC is really, it's the same thing as those other sports. So if someone was like, yeah, I was a pretty good fighter when I was in high school, well, yeah, I got in like 3 fights.
Right, yeah, it's a little different.
That's not, if you want to be a good fighter, again, I'm not, you're fought in a cage, so I'm totally from this, but so many people think, you would never say, I was a pretty good football player. Oh yeah, I played football, I think like 3 games. You'd laugh at them, you'd be like, well, maybe you would have been good, but you played 3 games, you can't say that. You don't have any idea if you were good. There's no way you even knew what you were doing in 3 games, really. But yet, for some reason, fighting is like, people just assume, I'm a badass, I lift weights, and I got a tattoo, so that means I'm tough, right? Well, maybe, or you don't know what you're doing, and you get schooled really quickly. Yeah. If you were, but
like
it's kind of
that takes a fight with you. You're gonna take that guy down and choke him out.
Well, maybe.
I guarantee.
I can't unless they're a D1 or
or
not even D1, just a high school wrestler.
Most likely, those guys aren't gonna be the ones that picking a fight.
Hopefully, I'd be able to survive long enough that somebody would break it up, and
that's our goal, right? That's our goal. So we don't want to have to hurt anybody, but we know that if we had to, we could probably impose our will.
And if somebody was way better, at least I could hold on for dear life until someone was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?"
That's a good thing too. I don't know if a lot of people realize this, at least, and I don't know if this is the same statistic for like high school fights or anything, but I'm sure it's even less. Like I think they say like the average street fighter, like bar fight, lasts 30 seconds. Yeah. And it's like that's before somebody breaks it up. Yep. And so I'm sure even in high school, maybe that's the longest it'll go, 30 seconds. Which if you've never really been in a life or death situation where you're dead tired or somebody's trying to attack you, that 30 seconds is a long time. But realistically, if you can get a hold of some guy and you can grab him and hold on to him for 30 seconds until somebody gets there and breaks it up, that's a very more viable option than you and another guy just throwing punches at each other and somebody lasts them for 30 seconds. If you get a hold of a guy and hold them for 30 seconds, it's going to be a lot more likely that you're going to survive and get hurt or get less hurt than if you're like, all right, well, we're just going to start throwing punches and one of us is going to go down.
Yeah, and not even knowing how far I should be from somebody when they can throw a punch. Yeah. Knowing, I need to be a little bit further away than they can reach, or I need to be close. Don't be in that middle place. I mean, all that, and we don't really, it's not like we train striking jiu-jitsu, but I got a good feeling of how to move, where my head shouldn't be, where it should be, and where I'm safe and not safe, especially standing up.
And if you can grab a guy, I can pull him close.
As long as they're wearing thick clothes and not a t-shirt that'll fall off. But
we'll do t-shirt training, bro. T-shirt training is legit. I'll show you a baseball bat choke with a t-shirt.
Really? With just a cheap t-shirt?
Just any t-shirt, yeah. Right. You gotta roll up the back of it. It's gotta roll it up.
I think I might have seen that before.
If you roll it up pretty tight, you can do it pretty sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's fun when they do self-defense classes and t-shirt training. That's always fun. Okay. But tell you wearing a t-shirt you don't like though.
Plenty of those. And that's one thing I'd like to get more, with my stomach problems and blah, blah, blah. I definitely want to continue jiu-jitsu, but I really kind of get into maybe some striking type stuff too. But right now the classes don't really fit.
All right, guys. So unfortunately, as you can see, we kind of had a little bit of a technical difficulty. We actually went a lot longer than we thought we were going to, and we ran out of battery. So we're just kind of came back a few days later, and we just want to make sure that we get the points of what we missed when the battery died and what we kept talking about. We went for about another 40 minutes or so. So we just want to kind of make sure that we get the points that we missed. And Dax has some stuff he wants to say that he said in the last podcast that unfortunately didn't get recorded. So we're just going to kind of end this on a high note and just kind of Dax has some people he wants to thank and stuff, and then I'm just going to end it with sponsors and stuff like that. So
so I guess going back to my whole ordeal, my wife and family were just awesome to the whole thing. My wife is my rock, and I don't know if I would have made it without her. And then I'm from Casson, little town just west of here, about 20 miles, and we had some really good friends that we had friends that we knew through our daughters playing sports in Casson that did a benefit for us. That was just, it was amazing. And you know, this is 8 years later, and we still, my wife and I still think about it, and you know, can't believe just all the love and warmth and help that we got out in Casson, and just the hope, you know, Olmsted County, southern Minnesota. This is just a really good place to be, and there's just a lot of good people, and it's it really helps when you're going through difficult times, regardless of what they are. So
Yeah, definitely. And it's good to hear that the community kind of came around and helped you. And you know, like you said, you weren't really a lot of friends with these people, but they were from sports and stuff, so you knew them. But once they seen that, you know, one of their own was hurt, and they came around and they rallied around. So it's great to see it. We get a lot of that in the Midwest, and you know, we got that Minnesota nice. So it's always a great feeling, especially. You probably felt alone at first, you know, and then to see all those people come around, it probably gave you a lot of strength and stuff
for sure.
to bring you back up and kind of bring your spirits back up. And again, you know, your wife is amazing, and your kids, the ones that have met her, have been amazing as well. So I'm just glad that we got to get on here and tell your story. And it's been a few days, and I've just been kind of reflecting on the podcast and watching it and kind of editing it. And as I go through it, it just blows my mind how much you went through, and that you're so humble, and you have such a good family and everything, and that something like this had to happen to you, but you made it through, and you get to tell a story, and that's a lot what this podcast about, is the trials and tribulations, and I'm very thankful for you coming out and, you know, getting emotional with me and kind of telling me your story. And again, if you guys, you know, if you don't want to be struggling or anything like that in a podcast, this podcast is really about, you know, trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, and obviously some people go through a lot more serious mental and physical places in their life, whether it's sickness, mental health, whatever that is, and other people go through a little bit less drastic. So whether it's, you know, the high spectrum, you're not alone, whether you're just a guy who feels alone by himself and sitting in his room, like the whole spectrum, you're not alone. So know that even if you're the bottom of the totem pole, the top of the totem pole, you still have trials and tribulations, and you can get through it, and just don't feel alone. Again, Dax, thank you so much for coming out and talking to me about this, and again, redoing this a few days later because again, we had the technical difficulties. But if you guys like this podcast, make sure you share it. It's a really great story, and it touches me. You know, like really close knowing Dax and knowing all the stuff that he's been through, and just kind of seeing where he's at now is so great. And I know you sent me some pictures of the scars and stuff, and I didn't really realize how intense it all was until I seen those pictures. You know, and that's when it all kind of really clicked in. Like, wow, like this wasn't just a story. You know, this is something that you still feel every single time you tell the story. You can still feel those emotions, and I felt that when we were talking about it. So it means a lot to me to bring back up that stuff, even though I know I'm sure it wasn't the easiest. So again, people go through struggles every single day, and if you're going through a struggle, hopefully this podcast can help you. If not, one of the places that we send you to, either the suicide helpline, the online texting chat line, whatever it is, like there's help out there for you. If you just need somebody to talk to, whether you're sick, you know, you're down, anything that it is, you know, we're always here to help you. There's always people around you that are going to help you. You just got to kind of speak out and let people know that you're not right, or that something's not going right in your life. And again, with Dax, it was just, he felt something weird in his throat, you know, and it was just, he just spoke up finally. I wasn't comfortable, and I found out that it ended up actually being cancer. So don't be afraid to speak up, again, whether you're just feeling not yourself, you know, whether it's mental, physical, whatever it is, just make sure you speak up, and don't find out too late.
And I would just add, get a second opinion if something, you know, I mean, doctors, they're awesome, they do a great job, but your best, what's the word I'm thinking of? Your best bet is to, if you don't feel something's right, even though the doctor's telling you one thing, don't be afraid to ask, you know, for more information, or get a second opinion, or just go a little deeper. Was saying that I would stay away from Google searches, because as we know, you search for anything on Google,
You're dying.
It's not good.
Yeah, everybody says stay away from that.
And it, you know, and I learned that too, because I was doing the same thing at the time.
Oh, really?
You got to remember, the only time most people will put stuff on the internet is when it's a bad case.
Worst case scenario.
Right. No one goes on the internet. Well, not no one, but a lot of people aren't going to go about something like this, or health, and say how great things were. They're always going to say how, you know, the worst. So keep that in mind. Don't just think, well, everything I'm reading says this is horrible. Well, yeah, because that's what people are more liable to put online. So keep that in mind too.
Definitely. And again, thank you, Dax. For everybody watching this, like, share, subscribe, word of mouth. Share this on your any social media that you have. We have Facebook. We have Instagram right now. We have an email. You can email us. That's all going to be at the end of the podcast. It'll just be a little square at the end and kind of all the information. If you're looking to sponsor us, we're kind of in talks with a few sponsors. The investing thing is still kind of in the mud, but we're trying to make our way through that. But again, if you know anybody wants to sponsor us or even give us a little help because they like the causes that we're trying to help, please just send us an email. Hit up my Facebook, my personal Facebook, our Facebook page, our email. Any of that stuff is, and I'm going to try to get back to everybody as soon as possible. So again, thank you, Dax, and thank you guys for watching.